This is so stupid. Plat Chat Overwatch episode 246. Yeah, I'm hosting this time because Johnny is in the middle of nowhere, Sweden, in a
I mean,
hotel
Gothenburg is the
room.
second largest city.
Oh, okay, my bad. You didn't tell me that. You didn't specify that. You didn't specify it.
Hey, that's an Overwatch map, yo!
Oh,
It's actually not an
Gothenburg? Oh,
Overwatch
that's
map.
right.
It's actually not an
Yeah.
Overwatch map. It
Wait,
never
is
came
it
out,
not?
guys. No, it
Where's
never
the story
came
mode
out. It was
thing?
only in the PvE.
Oh,
It was only in the
came
PvE.
out, bro.
Yeah.
Dude.
It's hidden in the
too.
files
It looked
somewhere.
like Sweden.
Oh, this is
It was-
so
Yeah,
sad.
hidden in the files.
I
Are there any
just
big
tended
mechs
to
in
reorder
Gothenburg?
it.
How accurate was the map? Now that you're in Gothenburg, how accurate is the map to real Gothenburg?
It
Be
is.
honest.
I mean, it's the Swedish street signs, the architecture. You know, it's an old city. There's
Bro, it's like,
ocean
yeah,
front.
there's some street signs written in Swedish. That would be in the map too.
No, it gives
That's
the
all
vibe.
you need.
It
That's
gives the
all
vibe.
you need.
It's right
got
by
your
the
street
ocean.
sign on
It's
two,
a
you got
lovely
it.
map. I'm trying to make them rework the map. You know, make it. I don't know. I don't even care if it's a Clash map. Like, I'll take anything at this point. Just give us anything. You have the map in the game. Like, just port it. Like, the story mission's never coming back. It's
Bro, what's a
failed.
Clash?
Another
This is
PvE
a
episode.
terrible-
It's not happening.
This is a terrible take, terrible intro. We have a guest as well here today. Welcome, Oshi.
Hi.
It's been a pleasure. It's been a little while, but obviously you were at Stockholm as well, doing a little bit of streaming here and there, jumping on I think you were saying SK stream.
Yeah,
how was,
yeah.
Stockholm for you.
Stockholm was interesting. I think the way there was not optimal for sure. It was my first time flying alone, and my flight to Paris got completely canceled. So the first flight, right?
No.
The first plane, we'll put it that way, had hydraulics issues. So they're like, okay, we're gonna do an hour delay. We're gonna get a different plane. They got a different plane. They took off from JFK Airport, and then they turned us around because they smelled something weird on the plane. I'm not kidding. And they landed us.
That's an insane
And-
reason.
Yeah, they landed us and they were like, you know what? You're on your own. Here's a hotel voucher. And it's like, oh my God. You know, my first time flying alone. I've flown internationally before, but still, I've never run into anything like that. And it was incredibly stressful and not that much fun. But generally,
Did you smell
know,
it?
yeah,
Did you smell the
I
smell?
feel like I did. I feel like I did.
Okay.
I mean, it's kind of hard to tell because, you know, plane smell or whatever. It's like, I don't know.
Like the recycled air or whatever.
Yeah, but I think I kind of did smell it. So like, I don't know. I don't know what's happening there, but it wasn't great. So once I got there though, I didn't have clothes for 3 days. That was cool. Because they didn't have my luggage.
They lost your bag.
Yeah.
Oh
Well,
my
more
God.
so my bag had to go through Paris and then Stockholm because of the bag tag. So I went to Amsterdam and took a faster route. Like I got a new flight. My bag didn't come with me on that flight. It was still
that makes
checked
sense.
under the Paris thing. So they took a long time to get it on a flight to Paris. And that meant that I just didn't have clothes. So a little miserable getting there, but Stockholm in general was pretty cool. I think the city kind of like, I didn't know what to expect. I've been to Europe before, but I liked it more than Paris and London. So I'll give it that. I like Sweden a lot. I liked it a lot.
Cheering in the corner. He's pumping
Definitely
his
my
fist.
favorite European city. Transport was good. It was pretty cold, but especially if you don't have your jacket because that was in my luggage.
Oh yeah.
But yeah.
Did you have a hoodie at least when you got off the plane?
Yeah, I had a hoodie and
that's
stuff.
good.
So
If you were just in a t-shirt, that would have sucked.
yeah. I think the big thing though with this this tournament, the tournament itself, I think it was a little underwhelming.
Okay. Okay. Well, we'll get into that in
Nice.
just a moment. We'll get into
yeah.
that. I like that. That's a good spicy hot take to start off with. So Avril said at the very beginning of this episode he was going to do the ad read, and he's not slotted the ad read
That's
in
a-
yet.
that's-
And I want.
I said, hey,
What?
no prompts, buddy. It'll happen
I
when it
said no
happens.
prompts. But
It'll
Okay.
happen when it happens.
Okay. No problems.
I'll take this time then. I'll
Okay,
take this
Johnny,
time
how
to
was
say.
Stockholm for you?
You didn't even ask me about my flight.
Well, no, I'm on an 80-minute time limit. I'm just letting you guys know. We have 80 minutes
Okay,
from now.
all right.
Because after that, I'm going to get a kebab. And they
That's
close.
epic.
So at some point, I gotta leave. So I'm just giving you a heads up. I've got 80 minutes here before I need to go get a kebab. Before they close. So-
Okay.
Well, Johnny-
Avril, how
Johnny-
was your flight?
Johnny, you know
Yeah,
what takes
Avril,
less
yeah.
than 80 minutes? A nice clean shave with Manscaped.
Oh my.
Introducing
God, bro, I hate
That was
this
so
the new
bad.
chairman,
guy.
bro. The holidays creep up faster than your aunt's fruitcake recipe. I've got something way better to share with you. If you want to look sharp for all those festive gatherings and maybe finally win that Best Groomed at the Family Dinner Award, check out the latest masterpiece from Manscaped, the Chairman Pro Electric Foil Shaver. Trust me, it's like Rudolph for your face, guiding you to the smooth, irritation-free shave. Head over to manscaped.com and join over 11 million men worldwide who trusted Manscaped by using code PlatChat20. It's PlatChat20, right, guys?
Plat Chat
I
20.
had to double check. I had to double check for 20% off and free shipping. Let's dive into the goods. The Chairman Pros armed with not one but two interchangeable skin-safe blade heads. Think of them as your grooming superheroes. The skin-safe 4-blade foil for when you want that baby's bottom smooth, and the skin-safe stubble trimmer for when you want to keep some stubble but clean it up a bit. Both keep you looking sharp while minimizing razor burn irritation, because nobody wants to show up to the holiday party looking like they lost a fight with a Christmas tree. But wait, there's more. The Chairman Pro has Flex Adjust technology, which is basically like the holiday miracle of shaving. It's like Santa's elves made it just for you. The blades and pivoted head adjust to every curve of your face and is gentle on the neck area, as if they had the gift of foresight. So go ahead, kiss that awkward jawline patch goodbye, Jaws mentioned. No more pretending it doesn't exist.
Crazy.
Well, you hope nobody notices under the mistletoe. And if you want even more precision on the right side of the bracket, there's a precision lock where you can lock it. The blade head sits firm so you can achieve a more precise shave. And here's something that's going to make your grooming routine even easier. The Chairman Pro is waterproof. You can even use it right in the shower. And the waterproof feature doesn't make the shaving easy. It also simplifies cleanup too. Just a quick rinse under the sink and you're all set. Chairman Pro isn't just for daily shaves either. It's powerful enough to take up to 5-day growth, making it perfect whether you're shaving every day or just tidying up after a few days. And with up to 75 minutes of run time on a single charge, you have plenty of juice to go from Santa's beard to smooth as a snow angel. It even has a travel lock to make sure it doesn't actually turn on your bag, and an LED spotlight to help you with every detail, ensuring nothing gets missed. So, get the Chairman Pro today and experience a shave that is smooth as you deserve. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code PLATCHAT20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% free shipping with the code PLATCHAT20 at manscaped.com. And
let's go!
Johnny is he's traveling right now, so check your bag. You got your Manscaped with you in your bag? Better have.
Let's go. I do.
Yeah, there you go. W.
Plat Chat
Speaking of
20.
old patches, I do have two very strange patches. I can't grow a beard, so I have two thumb-shaped patches underneath my chin that does not grow hair. It's very weird, but thanks to the Manscaped razor, I have no beard anymore, and I shaved it off. There you go.
You're looking clean.
There you go. Personal
Looking clean.
anecdote.
Good job.
Thank you. I did shave last night.
Plat Chat 20. It
Plat Chat
works.
20.
Works wonders. You did great.
does.
You did great, Avril. I'm proud of you, buddy.
Thank you.
You did great. It was very clear, concise. I think they got the message across. Good promotion of the code. It was very soothing.
You know what?
Great podcast voice you have.
You said you had 80 minutes. I was like, how long can I stretch this? Can I stretch this to last 80 minutes?
80-minute ad read.
80-minute ad read.
80-minute ad read.
love
just
it.
like my podcasts. Let's turn into an ad read podcast. We just sit shilling. Just
Black Friday is past us, but Cyber Monday is coming up. Cyber Monday, so the sale is still on.
Guys,
get
don't
it.
worry.
Yeah.
There'll
Plat
be
Chat 20.
plenty of shilling on this podcast. I'll do plenty of shilling for one team in particular, though. Don't worry about it. It'll happen.
Okay.
It'll happen.
All right.
Okay, let's get into that then. The Stockholm event that just passed. If you're watching this podcast and don't know what it is, I'm not going to even explain it because you should have been there or should have watched it. I know it's crazy. It do be like that. Let's go over the recap because I want to start with a hot take first. Oshi, you said you didn't like it. You didn't think the event was that good, or
underwhelming? Come on,
I think
overwhelming.
It's not the event itself. I think from what I could tell, it was an improvement in terms of the environment, in terms of everything like that from Dallas, the setup as well. I wasn't there for the Dallas LAN. I would have loved to be, but I wasn't able to make it. But I think the actual matches themselves were incredibly underwhelming. And I mean, the statistic that I use to kind of explain why I feel that way, and it's pretty simple. There were 14 matches played, and only 4 out of those 14 matches had the losing team take a map.
Wow. That's actually an insane statistic.
A lot of one-sided games. Yeah, to be fair, that is pretty accurate. There were a lot of one-sided games. It doesn't help that Korea just kind of rolls every team. But I can kind of see how you would equate that to the enjoyment. I think. Do you think that was a lot to do with the meta, or how do you come to that kind of conclusion that
I think it has to do a bit with how fast the meta kind of appeared. And the problem was that these teams, and this kind of comes from the Commander X interviews that were done with the players. I listened to them because I was interested, and they didn't really start playing Malga until maybe some of the Korean teams maybe started 2 weeks before, everybody else a week before. I think SSG might have been like thinking about Malga for a few weeks, but like for the most part, they didn't really decide on that like Malga, Reaper, Echo, Brig Juno, and like hard scrim that until like really the week before, where all of them were at their boot camps and they were doing that. I mean, Infected said, we tried to beat the Malga with Orisa. We couldn't. We had to switch. And that was during their boot camp. So this switch in the meta kind of came at the last second. We saw it first in Collegiate, and then after that, all the OWCS teams kind of followed. And yeah, I think the teams did not have a lot of time to figure things out. There wasn't a lot of time to work out theory. So the teams that made the right decisions and figure out things faster just did better. And the matches almost felt predetermined to an extent, because in that short amount of time, I think once the final started, it was almost like predetermined from that point. Like whoever had the better scrims, whoever figured things out better, maybe a bit of a coaching diff too, because this is a very like coaching dependent meta, because it's very ult rotation dependent and like little things like that. Those made all the difference though. And I think that's also why we saw like Crazy Raccoon and Falcons, they're normally neck and neck. I don't think they had enough time to look at this meta to really reach their full potential. Either of them, actually. I just think that Falcons at the very end, they just figured something out that Crazy Raccoon didn't. They figured out some things that Crazy Raccoon didn't. And that's why they absolutely rolled.
I mean,
Yeah,
you know it's a bad meta as well.
Like... Go on, Johnny.
When people can't pick to their strengths and be like, oh, we got the first map loser pick. We're gonna go to our strongest map in the entire pool, and no team besides Twisted Minds was able to do that successfully. That's how strong like the Mauga meta is as well. That it's like, I mean, like, yeah, you could force Gibraltar if you really wanted to, if that's like a composition you'd like, and maybe you get a map that way because that's one of the maps where you don't have to play Mauga. But for the most part, I think it tells a story as well that the Mauga meta didn't really allow teams to show their signature composition or playstyle or put their best players on their best heroes. So, I mean, that's another reason why.
Yeah,
I think,
teams weren't playing their strength; they were just playing the
was
comp that was the best. Like that
Yeah.
was it. It was just the meta was so. And when you have those mirror metas, you will get more like one-sided games because one team is just better. It was like the GOATS era, right? Where it's like, oh, one team's better, they're just gonna roll because they're just better at that mirror. And like you can try some innovation. Like Twisted Minds had a little bit of innovation there with the Pharaoh and stuff like that, and the Ash, etc. Looked pretty cool, looked pretty fun. I mean, we did go to maps like Gibraltar and whatnot. People were playing Die, but for the majority of teams, like. Yeah, it was just mirror, so the stronger team just comes out on top, and they won't lose a map. I think it was funny. You mentioned, obviously, that the teams are kind of scrimming, like, oh, you know, Orisa, we can potentially play this. I spoke to a few of the players from, like, SSG and a couple other teams as well, like a couple of weeks prior, and it was like, okay, it's kind of up in the air right now. Queen, Orisa, and Mauga was kind of the idea that was floating around, and then in the back of my mind, I'm like, bro, it's just going to end on Mauga. Everything just comes back to Mauga over and over again because the character is just so fucking safe. It's so safe. You could argue Orisa's up there as well with safeness, but Mauga he just does so much. Just does so much. Too much. Like, the character is just insane. It was a very disappointing meta, I think, to have at finals. Although there was a little bit of innovation.
I don't even blame Blizzard for this one. Usually you get these end of year metas, you go to plebs, you go to finals, like, oh yeah, classic, hang on, this classic, like, last minute patch, like, oh, look at this dumb patch that came in, oh, new hero release, and we're going to play Kiriko now, everyone's going to play Winston, Kiriko, Reaper for the grand finals. Admittedly, still a 7-map grand finals, whatever, nice, but this time around, if you actually look at the patch we played on, first of all, it wasn't the live patch, we were one patch before, so we weren't actually on the Malga bot patch. A lot of people didn't know that. And when I spoke to people like, yeah, I can't believe, you know, Mal gets buffed and instantly Malga's meta was like, no. We didn't even play the buffed version of Malga. This was the patch before, guys. And even before that, I went through, I think even last episode, I went through all the Malga patch note changes over the last like 6 months. And I'm like, there's not a lot in here that I'm like, this is really, really good for Malga. That were like, hey, these are like sleeper buffs for Malga. You better watch out. Like none of that. I didn't see any of that. So it really is just one of those things. I think Jack said it's just like it ends up being a safe pick, and it's one of those picks where Orisa gets nerfed because Orisa did get nerfed. Orisa was one of the things really keeping Malga down. Orisa was countering Malga, and once you can't counter Malga with Orisa, then suddenly Malga looks really good. NRG Shock, to their credit, tried to do a lot of Queen stuff in there, which did seem to work a lot against a decent amount of teams. But once they got up against Toronto Defiant, it just stopped working. And I didn't think that comp really had the longevity to make it deep in the tournament. And even if you got past Toronto, you would have definitely lost to one of the Koreans anyway. So, yeah, not a very fun meta. I actually started to, maybe it's because of the Stockholm Syndrome I was experiencing live in Stockholm, but when we got to the final, I actually started to enjoy it a bit more. Once you got to see Falcons and Crazy Raccoon play the mirror, I was like, okay, I can sort of like, get more enjoyment out of that one. I'm starting to really get a handle of how the mirror matchup works now and seeing at the high level where it's a bit more back and forth. And yes, it was still Falcons dominated at the end, but there were enough back and forth fights, enough equal of skill levels being displayed that it was a more enjoyable watch than just seeing teams get stomped 3-0 because they just weren't nearly as good at the meta. And actually as well, I credit to Twisted Minds for trying to keep a little bit of an extra flavor to it by running the fire the entire time through as well. They were one of the other teams that really tried to play something different. They had the Ash fire basically the entire way through, and I really enjoyed that from them. They did pretty well this tournament. So yeah, I don't blame Blizzard
Dude,
for
no one
this
expected
one.
that. They were like banned in scrims.
Yeah.
This
Like banned in scrims for some people.
this is just a Malga problem and not a specific patch problem. Is what I'm trying to get.
All right. Well,
I
I
don't
have
think
been
it's Malga,
enjoying
though.
OC's feed. I've been enjoying OC's feed because OC, you've been on it about Juno, and I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah, I think it's a
I
Juno
agree with
problem.
you.
It's been 3 months. Juno's a problem. Juno's been a problem. I think once we figured out how strong Juno could be, and at first we had the Ana Juno stuff, and I was like, okay, Ana Juno has weaknesses, and it does. It really does, especially after they fixed that diva issue, the bug where
Silly
you
boost.
could launch her at the enemy team like a missile. After they fixed that, Ana Juno really wasn't that good. Ana Juno with the Ram wasn't really that good either. There were weaknesses there because that was a greedy backline. You had to play super fast, just try and trade the opposing team, and that was fine, right? But then teams started playing Juno Brig, and I think the big thing with Juno Brig, right, is originally my thoughts on Juno were that Juno wasn't going to be that strong, wasn't be that good of a main support because you have Brig Juno, Brig Lucio, who are your current main supports, and they both have the ability to peel, right? And I think that's the big thing. Juno really isn't good at that. I mean, she can kind of do it with her speed ring, whatever. She can allow her team to kite, but she's not able to directly peel for her team. So what Brig does is Brig kind of fulfills that need, and Juno can do enough healing where you still have enough sustain with that composition. And that created kind of just the best Juno backline, right? And probably the Juno backline that we're going to see the most as long as Juno is incredibly viable, right? We will still see the Ana Juno stuff on longer maps, all that. We'll still see it. But Brig Juno is the big one. And Brig Juno has been a problem for a while. We had Brig Juno Ram. Then we had Brig Juno Orisa. Then now we have Brig Juno Junker Queen, Brig Juno Malga. And Juno is kind of the enabler for this composition. The enabler that allows the Death Blossom to get a ton of value, allows Cage to get a lot of value, the amount of sustain in this composition as well. And the fact that they've allowed it to go on for this long is a bit problematic, I'd say. And I think we do need more hot fixes or more aggressive changes to deal with Juno or any hero that ends up in this position in the future, right? A month is okay. That's enough time to see, okay, where does a hero land? Once we reach the 2 or 3 month mark, it starts to become too much.
Dude, it's so boring.
I think
It's
the
so
kit's
boring.
just
I
overloaded
completely agree with you,
completely.
OC.
Also, Reaper.
Yeah.
Reaper is another reason why Malga's good. The Reaper buffs and kind of the teams figuring out that Reaper's pretty good. You saw teams playing it with Winston a little bit. I don't know if you remember that from I think stage 3, stage 4 teams were starting to do that. And I think really it's that Reaper synergy and the Juno synergy that resulted in Malga becoming strong. The first time around for Dallas, it was Malga buffs. This time around, it's more of Malga adjacent heroes becoming strong.
Yeah, Juno being strong the entire way through definitely enables you to end up playing a brawl meta. I think Juno and Reaper together is particularly a strong combination, as we saw. So
We've been on this for like a month
mean,
on this podcast. At least
yeah,
I am.
I don't know. Juno, I think the ultimate is probably end up still pretty strong at this point. Everything about Juno is still really, really good. I think I am sick of this same backline stuff, and Juno Ana was at least more interesting. But at this point, we have had a lot too much Juno.
They're always just too strong, and the kit's just too overloaded. She's definitely going to be a hero that is either super shit or super OP. I think she's definitely in that category at this point because it's okay, how do you nerf this character? Okay, they nerf the range of the heals and all that shit. It's okay, but what really is the big crux of this fucking character? Well, the ultimate just kills everything instantly, and you win the fight, and it's like release rush where you just literally insta kill people, and especially with Reaper Echo, anybody that has high single hit damage. So like Ash, Reaper just like close range with one shotgun blast like does a lot. It just makes everything so broken. And it also, God, is it annoying to watch. It's annoying to watch. It's annoying to cast. I think it's annoying to spectate too, because the amount of like visual clutter on the fucking screen. One bit of feedback I did actually give them was the opacity of the ultimate needs to be reduced like quite considerably.
Yeah.
Because it is just a column of fucking like a Zeus lightning bolt. Like you cannot see shit. You cannot see anything. And this, I think, for me, and like going back to a more overarching point about the meta and like the event, I didn't mind the meta that much, but like it was a slog to get through some games because casting from a high level is just like, well, you're saying the same thing, but you're saying it 50 different ways, which is fine. But if it's the same meta and it's the same fucking mirror every single match, every single map, it's just like, bro, like how many times can you call a fucking Juno ult with a fucking Malga ult? Oh wait, no, there's two Juno ults with two Malga. There's a dupe, there's a Reaper. It's just like, holy mother of God. It just turns into such a clusterfuck where bad casting is kind of like perma looking at kill feed. You obviously need to, but like you have to just look at kill feed in Juno meta because you need to see when the first initial kill comes through and then it all like tumbles from there because the amount of visual clutter on your screen when everybody is clumped up as a 10-man unit on your like on one view angle, like it is just too much. There is too much going on in like individual cooldowns. While they're super important to like the micro, they are too hard to pick up in these kind of comps.
Can
Real
I
quick, can I do
you guys go on.
one really fast statement? You know what's really telling about this not being a fun meta to watch? When you know for a fact that every single team fight had to be observed top down third person, or else it was unwatchable. Literally, you cannot watch a team fight in first person at all. Like anytime they tried, it was like, bro, my brain is scrambling. Brain is actually scrambling. It's not possible.
You would normally obs like a DPS, right? Especially say like dive with say like Gibraltar games with a Genji and a Winston and stuff. Like when you go for engagements, it's like okay, you spec the Genji because the Genji's going to get in there, he's going to get up in your face and shit. It's like okay, DPS normally pretty good to spectate because they're doing a lot of the killing. But if you're spectating Reaper, there's just like bodies. Like you can't even see the background, the beautiful architecture of any of these maps. You just can't see it because you're just shooting into flesh. Like it is just. Yeah, it is. It got a little rough towards the end, I would say. Just from like a casting perspective, and I know from a viewing perspective as well, especially people who like don't watch a lot of Overwatch esports were like, holy fuck, I do not know what's going on. And like even the casting is there to kind of help you to discern what is going on the screen. But even then, it's like people are just fucking dying instantly in Juno ult. And like you can't call these like small little micro plays, you know. Oh, Genji dashed away here, dodges this, whatever, you know. You can't do that because it's like, okay, Reaper pop Wraith. Okay, now he's gonna get hunted down, but like it doesn't matter because everybody's in one place at the same time. So like, who cares? Like it's just, man, it was. I would say that was my biggest grievance with the event was just like the amount we saw this meta because fuck, it's a slog. Everything else around the event, by the way, I know I'm bringing it back.
Also, you had a point, right? Jaws is just yapping.
Jaws do be yapping.
Sorry, I'm just fucking going. Oh,
I mean, I just think like I think it's this meta on top of how one-sided the matches were. I don't think it's any fault of the event organizers, but also I think like, and there's really nothing you can do. Honestly, you can't really change. You can't script it. You can't make it closer. If 10 of the matches were all rolls, where the losing team could not take a singular map out of 14 matches, then that's just how it was. And if that's all Malga meta as well, those Malga meta rolls, by the way, were so boring to watch. And this is a side tangent, but the fact that Crazy Raccoon did not take Team Falcons to Gibraltar their first matchup, I did not understand that at all. In fact, seeing the losing teams that were losing the Malgamir and never take their opponent to Gibraltar was always confusing, really. That was one note that bothered me. And I'm like, just take them to Gibraltar. You're not winning this, clearly. You need to try something new. And a lot of teams were just like afraid to do that. Maybe because they didn't scrim jib a lot. I'm not sure. It's hard to tell what happens behind closed doors, right? But that was one interesting thing because, you know, the moment Crazy Raccoon did do it in the grand finals, you could hear the crowd get like super wild and everything too.
Yeah,
I think
so funny.
That was the most active and exciting part of the entire like grand finals day. Honestly, though, like, and I hate saying this, my favorite part of that final day was the orchestra that they brought out. I think that was my favorite part.
It was sick.
Just because we had a 3-0, a 3-0, and a 4-1. Like, and I guess the second best part of the day was Gibraltar.
And ironically,
Yeah.
ironically,
Yeah, I agree.
the Gibraltar was an insane role as well. So
Yeah,
even
it was.
even that wasn't actually close. That wasn't like, oh, wow, what a great close game. It's like, no, now you're just seeing the other team completely roll.
I'm coping, yeah, bro. Let me cope. It was an amazing map.
yeah.
Overwatch. No,
It was amazing because it just wasn't Malga for once. You're like, thank God,
Yeah.
thank God.
Yeah. I wanted to tie it into the enjoyment of the event as well. And like what I disliked so much about this meta as well is that it didn't allow for our star players in the scene to pop off on their signature heroes. And I think that was one of the reasons why it was not enjoyable, because they didn't get to see Kevster on Kevster's best heroes, or even like, you know, pretty default
Like
hit scan players like Merit or Kai or, you know, Sparker coming out there from SSG. Like the fact we didn't get to see these star players that we've been building up all year come out on their best heroes and pop off. That's what we wanted to see. That's what we wanted to see, how they do on their best heroes when they go up against the Koreans. And instead, I know the Koreans, you know, some of them didn't play the best heroes, like Lip, for example, played Reaper instead of Lip playing his best heroes. But that is what sucks for me too, is we don't get to see the best players play their best heroes. And this meta sucked in that regard. And so, honestly, it was fun talking about Twisted Minds, because you get to see Labda on Labda's signature Pharah and Quartz play long range hit scan. And you're like, this team is amazing. This team is so much fun. They're playing like their best heroes, and it's so much fun to watch both Pharah, even if it's not the most optimal pick sometimes, and Quartz on long range hit scan. That's all you could ask for. That was awesome. Yeah. But we didn't get that with most teams. So that's tying into the enjoyment of the event. That sucked. There were like 4 or 5 teams in the event that were just like, this meta sucks for us, and rip. So anyway,
you getting Omega boomed very.
Can I before we get into that, I just want to comment on the like overall vibe of the event itself and like how the event went before we get into the nitty gritty like regions and specific teams.
We should talk about this. Go.
Yeah, because we were all. Obviously, you said you didn't go to Dallas, but I think the rest of us we all did Dallas and we all did Stockholm. And so so obviously, 2 of you guys did that as talent. I was basically attendee, just a regular attendee for both. From an attendee perspective, I think obviously the Stockholm setup was way bigger and way better. Like as a final setup, actually, I would even say that if you were just from like a camera perspective, if you were watching this online, I don't know how other people feel about this, but I actually think visually it looked better than Toronto, the final in Toronto. I think the stage looked better and it was presented better. The orchestra was amazing actually, and that actually added a lot of value to the final, which I thought was a brilliant move. As the orchestra was playing, by the way, fun fact, I went over to Sean, who was standing about 2 meters away from me. He was like, Sean, do you prefer this to DJ Khaled or what? Like, what are we doing? Do you want this or DJ Khaled? Which one? Choose one. So he laughed and didn't give me an answer, so that's fine. But yeah, so this is just a better presented finals than Toronto last year, in my honest opinion. They increased the seats from Dallas as well, which is nice to see. We actually filled out again. So I think in the actual grand final, when I looked around, there was like so many people standing. It was like, what are all these people standing? Are they lining up for something? It's like, no, the seats filled out. The seats literally filled out. And so like there was just bunches of people standing off to the side. I was like, okay, so that's how full we actually are. There's just people standing around now. So that was really great to see that we actually filled out the entire venue. We were the biggest esport this time around at Stockholm as well, because the only other esport was for Counter-Strike for ESL Impact. So there was nothing else, which is really interesting. So we ended up being the sort of the biggest thing there. Trophy looks really good, and
I mean that LED was awesome with the players.
LEDs the lights were blinding my eyes. I'm not gonna lie, because they would sweep. It was swoop it across the audience. I'm like, dude, these are strong lights. Every time it came across my face, I'm like, I get flashbang. It's like literally someone throwing a flashbang at me. But aside from that, they looked good on camera. They looked great on camera. I'll say that much. The lights going across the camera, nice. Like I'm watching the VOD now. I haven't seen what it looks like in the VOD, but looking at the VOD now, I think it looks fantastic. Like this whole setup looked really fantastic.
It's because the stage isn't elevated, right? So the lights are obviously at kind of floor level, so they just go warm sweep across your face. The whole like walking out ceremony with the orchestra and the players and shit with GB and stuff was just unbelievable. I said to Sean actually that I think this is the best opening we've had to a grand finals in a long time. Because the orchestra, I think, just
this guy's not a DJ Khaled enjoyer.
Yeah, well, clearly, but it was ridiculous, and we're in like a brand new era of Overwatch Esports as well, and like kicking it off like this, I thought was just unbelievable. And hopefully, obviously, we continue going up from here. The stage was really sick, and I'm not sure how much of the LED walls that they were showing, especially during the games. But when a player got a kill or like something happened, the players had like animated shots of themselves like doing something. Like Lenny was kind of pointing to his wrist. You know, there were like small little things that they were doing for the audience in the venue. That I
That's
don't
for the
think a
LAN
lot of the
enjoyers
time-
only. People
Yeah,
at home
it
didn't get
is.
to enjoy that.
Right. And the people at home, you'd probably see that every now and then, but it was really cool to see it in person when someone gets a kill, or like a big team collapse or something. Like all the LED walls, they go and they show different player things, or yeah, there you go. That's a really good
That's
one.
sick.
Yeah, I thought that was fucking awesome. This stage is, although it's on like ground level, like I think it's incredible. Casting situation as well was not normal, because normally you're like, you're normally not on the stage itself, but we were on like the little catwalk thing, which I thought was fine. I thought that was pretty sweet. We were very like in the crowd kind of thing, which was kind of awesome. Overall, apart from the, if you just ignore the meta and like the quality of games, although I didn't think the quality of games were that bad, I kind of like disagree slightly on that. But I thought the event itself was just absurd. I thought it was fucking awesome, and everybody in the crowd seemed to also fucking love it too. We had a nice little streamer section as well. There was lots of meet and greets with the voice actors and stuff. Yeah, it was. I personally just I adored this event. I really
Streamer section was great. That was great. No
Yep,
additional
I was there for a day.
Let's go, baby.
I was there.
Unfortunately, I didn't get that content creator pass, so I actually didn't really. SK kind of like invited me onto her stream, but I didn't actually get any of that stuff, tragically. But yeah, no, it was pretty awesome because it was my first time going to any sort of event ever. So like before I had met, this is really funny. I actually met a fan before this, before I went to Stockholm, in Japan, in Fushimi Inari. Like in the middle of when I was on vacation with my family, like someone came up to me, was like, "OC," like, "Oh my god."
Wow, odd place to meet.
It's a really, really strange place to meet. But yeah, she was from Sweden. That was pretty cool.
What?
And yeah. And so yeah, when I went to Stockholm though, I gave out a ton of stickers and stuff, those little bois stickers, and I just got to meet a lot of people, and that was really cool. It was a crazy experience. I mean, the environment there was awesome. I honestly think if we just had slightly better like match quality, better meta, something that's easier to watch, because you really can't understand from a viewer perspective what's going on. You really can't. I mean, even when I was co-streaming, what I would focus on in my co-streams is I'd focus on in between fights, because in between fights I just talk about, okay, what ults are they going to use? How are they probably going to use it? Like which team's going to play first? That's really important. But once you get into that actual, like, especially the play-by-play kind of like aspect of things, I think it's almost like you can't do much. You really can't do much, and you do kind of have to, like Jaws said, just read off the kill feed. Read off the kill feed. Or what I would sometimes do is if like someone's really close to ult and they needed to get that ult to win the fight, like a Juno's like 85% too, and you're a fight starting, then you're like, okay, look at this ult, look at this ult. Like, can they get ult in time? You know, and like that's the only thing you can do though, right? And it's just that it's rough, but also I don't think we're ever going to have a mirror meta like this again in the same way, at least because from what I can tell, they're going to do hero bans.
Yeah, that's
A
kind
lot of
of
people have
talk
been
about
yapping
that
about
because
Should we get the debate started?
format.
Get the
yeah,
hero ban
can
debate
I-
started.
Can I say one thing first, though? Can I say one
Okay.
thing first, though? Because we were on that video as well. That grand finals video. I wanted to say that was one of my favorite pieces of shoulder content, they call it, like video pieces. I think I've ever seen them produce. And it was just players talking about how much grand finals mean to them. And that was awesome.
Yeah.
That was great because players came out with emotion about why they're competing, why they want to win so badly, and how much winning and the grand finals means to them. And I mean, I only did the interview with ENS, and like the way some of the ENS players, especially like Kellex, like the way they were talking about the grand finals and the and winning and competing, amazing, insight into how much it means to them. So I love this video. I just wanted to say that.
No,
Every time I've seen like a Riot event, Valorant, League of Legends or whatever, and they do this type of content, they do plenty of this type of content, they do it well.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, why don't we have this? And finally at this final we did, I'm like, thank God. Like this, a genuine,
Sick.
Johnny, I agree.
Great.
Such a good piece of content. Loved it.
Love that.
Yeah, unbelievable turnaround as well. Obviously, they're editing this while the event's happening too. So, like, getting it this high quality was absurd. And I'd agree with you, Avril, because that's something that we were lacking in the Overwatch League and something that I was kind of personally pushing for as well towards the later half. But it just wasn't really feasible for a lot of people on the team, unfortunately. Although people obviously wanted to do it, was emotional content and also like clips and just weaving it all together into a big like, this is the fucking finals, we're here, like look at this shit. Because Valorant and League of Legends especially has done this for years and done it extremely well.
We can't do it unless you have LAN.
Right, yeah, exactly. And I think that's what one of the big problems was with Overwatch League towards the very end. Or like you could argue a lot of esports, to be fair. One piece of content like way back when kind of reminded me. That content way back when that this kind of video prompted in my brain. I was like, holy fuck! I kind of remember like 2014 or 2015 League of Legends, and it was like Deft, Faker, Uzi. And they went back, it's obviously on a grander scale than this, but they went back to their hometowns basically and talked to their family and like did small pieces like that. And were like, what does a world mean to you? And like, how do you think you got here? Like all these kind of like deep questions, and that kind of theme and the kind of emotion they were trying to capture, I think we captured here as well. Like Johnny said, we sat down with all the teams. I did Space Station. And I talked to Astro, and Astro was like, if I could win or like be in the grand finals in front of the whole crowd, plus like my partner and my parents and stuff, like it would mean a whole bunch to me. And I think, yeah, man, they fucking killed it with the content surrounding this. It was so sick, man. So sick.
Yeah.
Okay, small little side step there, but I do want to talk about hero bans because I think it's quite an important topic. Obviously, we had them in EWC, and it was kind of sick. People really enjoyed them.
OC's take, because I think OC had you were quite against hero bans.
Yes,
right? So
I am against
why don't we start
hero
with
bans, but I think to start off, and this is gonna be a very blunt kind of way to put it, it's probably happening. I would even go as far as to say it is happening. I don't have direct confirmation, but literally from every single person I've talked to, including people who are important in the scene and are kind of making those decisions, it's pretty clear that they've kind of made up their mind. Now, what I do also know is that they haven't completely decided what they want to do with hero bans yet in terms of how they're going to implement them. So that's where we're at right now. I think it's almost kind of useless to even debate if we should have them or not at this point. I think for me, it's
more to hear your position on
yes, and I will give my position. Yes.
Yeah.
I do
want to hear the critique.
And my critique is, and I'm going to be very real, it's an opinion that like I think not many people are going to hold, because it's very unique to how I feel about the game and how I kind of grew to like the game and everything. And I think for me, to put it bluntly with hero bans, I just want to see the game played at the highest level, no matter if it's a mirror matchup or not. That means that I want to see the highest level of execution. And that means teams are able to scrim the compositions that they want to play as much as possible, and that they're able to learn those compositions to the highest level that they can execute them. And there's nothing in the way of them playing those compositions to that level of execution, right? Hero bans is going to some extent, lower the level of execution in professional Overwatch. It's arguable to say that like hero bans are a part of the skill. Like you could say it doesn't really lower the skill ceiling, but it does lower the ability for teams to learn a composition to its fullness, right? And to play a composition to its absolute highest level. That means that I'm okay with, kind of the necessary evil of amalgam mirrors sometimes, or things like that, because to me, I just like seeing Overwatch played the best it can possibly be played. That's not an opinion most people I think would hold, though. And I think that's also not the opinion that the average viewer would hold too. And it might not be the best thing for the esport. So I've kind of like sat down and looked at it, and I think it's an opinion that I hold, but it might not be the opinion that's best for the esport.
Avril?
That's actually very fair. Having explained that, and to that degree, I think like, yeah, you probably are not going to see the absolutely most drilled, extremely practiced, like the GOATS era style of gameplay. But to that point as well, there's another reason why I brought up GOATS is I heard very similar criticism when we moved away from, where GOATS was when we moved to 222 and Rolex first came in. And it was like, we're reducing the peak skill level of the game, reducing the skill cap of the game, all this kind of stuff. And we're never going to get the situation where like, GOATS is peak gameplay. Because I think I would argue GOATS is like the highest level of how drilled the team could possibly, how practiced you could be. We literally played that one meta for like 3/4 of the year. It felt maybe at least 2/3 of the year. And so you're never going to get teams in Overwatch ever again for the rest of Overwatch that well practiced, that well oiled for a single matchup ever again. And I think that's a good thing. I actually don't think that the game is good and when it's at that point. So I don't know if that's a popular opinion or not, but I don't mind seeing the game being dropped down a little bit in not in a significant way, but enough that you get more diversity in what you can watch. And through watching the Esports World Cup, through casting it, through being there, and just through experiencing it, I don't think the skill level that we got was particularly lower than what the peak is anyway. I think we've still got
beg to differ, but
okay, I don't know. I'll let you explain that in a second. But my point is like, from being there at the World Cup and like experiencing what hero bans were like, yeah, the peak skill level was super, super high. Like it wasn't like the bans, implementing the bans are forcing teams to have to adjust on the fly and have to be a little bit more proactive in how they're making decisions. That, in my opinion, didn't negatively impact the gameplay. That improved the gameplay from my perspective. And yeah, for the average viewer, I don't think they can tell the difference. I don't think they can tell the difference between like, wow, these guys have been playing the same meta and the same composition for 9 months versus they have to sort of like figure stuff out a little bit more on the fly because of bans. So from a viewing, especially from an esport perspective, I think we end up at the same place. And I think the best thing for the esport would actually be to do bans, even if it comes at, in my opinion, a bit of a minor cost. And it really is a minor cost, in my opinion, not a very high cost at all.
Yeah. I think I agree with you.
You go ahead.
OC. Okay. I think I agree with all of OC's points. I think if hero bans were to be implemented, I think it's quite clear that it would take away scenarios where players are not able to play their best heroes on maps where that hero would be applicable. I forget if EWC did map pick and then hero ban. So like on Gibraltar, you could ban Widowmaker, which is
you do map and then ban, but you can only ban the hero once. So like it's not like you're perma banning Lips Widowmaker out.
Sure, but you're only playing Gibraltar once too.
Yeah, I will say heroes. Well, really no though, because the Widow maps are all like escort. So once you get through escort and your map picks and you ban Widowmaker, you really don't have much left for Widowmaker. Like that, I do think that is a fair point there. And also,
I don't see that. I don't think that's a problem though, me personally. Also, there was Midtown. I don't know. That's being pedantic, but like I don't see that's a problem. Hey, if Lip can't play Widow, oh well, too bad. Ash is available. There it is.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, go on.
That's fair. I think it's just like, for me, it's kind of sad that we might not see things like Crazy Raccoon Ball on Li Jiang and things like that anymore as well. Because sometimes there will be like niche hero picks that are only going to work on a few maps or a few different maps. And then those might get banned if teams actually try and like specialize in that a little bit or try to do it. But I don't think hero bans are going to completely ruin it, right? I don't think it's going to completely ruin it. I think it's a different game. And I wouldn't mind it too much. I think the reason why I think for me, like I wanted to prioritize balance. And I didn't like people saying, okay, hero bans are going to fix everything as well. I think for me, it was like, okay, we need to fix Juno too. We do need to do a bit better on the balancing side of things too. Because I do think that like, and you can't always balance the game super well all the time. I don't think that's ever possible, but there was pretty poor balancing going into this tournament, I think. And I don't know. It's just it's a tough argument, right? For me, it's difficult for me to speak on this as well because the main arguments surrounding hero bans are all EWC. I did not watch EWC, and I don't currently support it, and I can't really in my position. So it kind of makes it difficult for me to talk about it. Totally. So, I just have my personal opinions on it, but also I think, now that I kind of realize they are going that direction, the one thing I will say, and I think this will help a lot and will give us probably the best tournament possible, is if we introduce hero bans, we need a smaller map pool. And I kind of made a tweet about that recently. And I think the map pool is a massive problem. I think it's too big. And when you have a map pool that big and you're trying to prepare compositions, whatever, it's already difficult now, right? It's already kind of too big now because I think we had, how many maps is it? 14 maps in the map pool. And you maybe get 6 maps in a scrim, right? And that means you need to scrim 3 times to play every single map, and the actual quality of those scrims can kind of vary as well. So sometimes you might get a scrim and it's just bad and you just roll every time. So that doesn't really count, right? So it could take you even like 5 or 6 scrims to really get a good scrim on every map. And when you take that into account, and then you have hero bans as well, how do you prepare for that? How do you have real time to prepare for all of those maps? Because Overwatch is a very map dependent game. Yeah, sure.
Can I give my
Well,
case at some point too?
We need to reduce the amount of game modes, because the reason why I counted, by the way, it's 16 maps was in the map pool for the playoffs. The reason why is because there's 6 game modes, and every game mode has 2 to 3 maps. If you just took out one game mode, that's 3 maps gone, right? If you played only 5 game modes with maximum 3 each, that's still 15. Maybe, okay, some of them like Flashpoint only have 2 maps. But if you reduce here, we never had this problem when we only have 4 game modes. You get 3 maps per game. That's only 12 maps. That's a very fair amount. And I'll comment really quickly about like, I just remembered something. I think this is important to bring up for context of like where the history of how the banning has gone. Like stuff like banning Widowmaker and banning Ball, these niche bans actually don't happen very often at all. Looking back at World Cup, the vast majority of bans were tank position bans and support position bans, almost never DPS, and they were positioned around actually protecting your own composition first. Because the way it worked at EWC, for those that don't remember, is when you ban a category, let's say you ban tank, the other team cannot ban tank. So if you want to protect ball, ban ram and your ball is protected, for example. And that's what most of the teams are doing. Most teams were protecting their own picks by banning something within the role, and most of the valuable picks to ban and protect within tank and within supports, and very, very few times you'd ever see in DPS. You'd almost never see a DPS ban. It was extremely rare. So, and niche bans almost never, to me, almost never. I think Ball basically didn't get banned at all. And Junbin was at that tournament, and he did play Ball, and Ball basically never got banned. So Widow basically never got banned. So these niche picks almost never get banned. It's like the Lucios. Juno would get banned a lot. Lucio would get banned a lot. These are the heroes that would actually get banned all the time. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there.
Johnny, what was your take?
Yay, my take. No, I just wanted to say that I obviously agree with everything OC said, but I think like OC also said that it comes down to like a preference, kind of like what is your not preference, but like, so I'm prioritizing like esports growth, and I think esports the esports product would benefit from a viewer perspective if hero bans was in place. It comes with pros and cons, but I think the pro of hero variety to prevent this example of Magomedas, I think that pro outweighs some of the potential cons that come with hero bans. But I'm also recognizing that hero bans is not perfect, and it does take away something that some players would really value, for example. So I don't see hero bans as this all-seeing kind of good thing, but I think at this point I'm willing to take the pros over the cons, because my opinion of prioritizing the esport come through in some other ways as well. It's not only hero bans. So one of my hot takes is that I would like to see more like free cam observing, because I think it's easier for follow if you're not like a hardcore Overwatch esports fan. It can sometimes be quite jarring to go from free cam to first person and like to follow the action while the first person is going on. It's great for following pop-off moments, but it's hard for the novice viewer, or even like, a pretty bad, quote unquote bad Overwatch player to follow the action if they can't see several players at once. And so like my opinion and my preference comes out in that kind of topic as well, as much as it does for hero bans. And that's kind of like why I'm leading hero bans, because I think it makes for a better viewing experience. But I want to say as well, like, there are other reasons why hero bans wouldn't be a thing, and some things that people don't often think about, which is, for example, that it would increase the amount of time in between maps, which has been a huge priority for the Overwatch esports broadcast. Is you want to minimize the time between the maps, because a lot of viewers actually tune out in between the maps. And if you have to do map pick, hero bans, and player subs in between every single map, it is going to increase the dead time between the maps, which actually comes out as a pretty significant problem for the watchability of an esport. In most games, there are no player subs. I mean, there are obviously in some esports there are player subs. There's some niche examples, but the amount of player substitutions in Overwatch except for when there's a Mauga one-trick meta, is higher because you want to sub in certain players and stuff like that. And all that time added up is actually a bit of a problem that we have in Overwatch. And so, you know, introducing another element of like, hey, we're going to ban this and then we're going to play substitute players out in between. I know it only theoretically takes a minute per ban, but it all adds up. And, you know, it's been a big priority for the past few years to minimize that, minimize desk times. I know we had desk hits in between the maps in the grand final. That's not something I think they wanted to if they had to choose again. It was not a stylistic choice. I think it was something they had to implement for other reasons. But they really want to minimize desk time and increase map live playing time. And hero bans would kind of take away from that. By the way, 35-minute bumper, alarm, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to get kebab in 35 minutes, okay?
Okay.
If it was for me, I would starve for this podcast. I'm telling you right now.
Bro.
I would starve for this podcast. My wife would not starve for this podcast. And so I have to go get kebab for the both of us, okay? That's my excuse.
Yeah. I agree with all your points. Literally all of them. I think, you know, the downtime between, I didn't even think about that. I don't really have a good idea of what the downtime is. I know the system. I know how the system works. I didn't watch EWC, but I still know how the system functions. And I actually followed the tournament. I didn't watch it. I followed it through Liquipedia. that might sound weird, but it's still a way to follow it, and you can kind of see what happens. So that's what I did, and that's really the best I could do because I was curious. Okay, let's see how this works, what they're doing. And I think those are fair points, and I do also agree that I think at this point, and this is why I don't really want to spend time arguing against hero bans, because at this point, I do think it's happening. We should talk about implementing it in a way which is going to benefit the esport the most. That's what's important, right? Benefiting the esport the most, getting the most viewers, and keeping the most viewers during broadcasts. And, you know, I can cry all I want about the fact that we probably won't see the highest level of 222 Overwatch, or I guess 221 now Overwatch again, right? But that's fine. That's fine because, you know, the esport doing better benefits me, benefits the player base in general, and the moves they've been making with team skins, everything like that. It seems like they're investing. It's good, and we should continue to make decisions that are going to benefit the esport overall.
I'll add a quick one. I don't know if Jack had a take on this one.
You need to control as a host, Joss. You've been quiet.
I'll add a really quick one.
As a host, bro.
Please move us on,
No, I'm giving Avril some time now, and I'll fucking move us on in a minute, bro.
We gotta talk about the teams, the tournament.
I'm going to.
Avril, go. Last thing, I spoke to you talk about the pros and cons. I spoke to a bunch of pros at the event actually, and they're extremely in favor of hero bans. The coaches obviously extremely in favor because it gives them more of a job to do. It makes coaches and coaching way more important, and we saw that at the EWC how important coaching ended up becoming because they're the ones making decisions around the bans. As far as the time thing goes, I think we can reduce the time a lot. Like it was a minute per side to do the ban, so each coach had a minute to decide what the ban is. We can reduce that to 30 seconds. I don't think coaches need that much time, and if they think they need more time, they don't. They just need to be faster.
Soldier 76 moment.
Yeah, well, that's his problem. He can be a better coach.
Become good at coaching.
It literally is a good problem. Dude, Kasaurus took 5 seconds every time. He had a coaching document prepared with every single variable and flowchart required. I'm sorry, but like if brother can do bans in 5 seconds, you don't need a whole minute. That's all I'm going to say about that one.
Yeah.
So we can reduce the timing for bans or reduce the broadcasting. I think by
the longevity of the esport, I think requires hero bans. Just creates more variety, more fun. Heroes.
Well, what's one of the biggest complaints? One of the biggest complaints from viewers is they hate mirror minutes, and I agree. Mirror matchups suck. They really are not good. And so one of the easiest ways to solve that is through bans. And yet we can't. It's so easy. It's like, oh, bad meta, bad meta. One of the ways we can solve bad meta is to put the power in the players' hands to solve the meta themselves. And you know, in a perfect world, could the game be balanced in a way where this couldn't be an issue and we just have a perfect meta? Maybe, but we don't. It's just too hard. Like even. Yeah. You know, it's just way too hard. I don't want to rely. I think Team 4 do a reasonably good job, and they're doing a better job, you know, as we move forward. But we just can't rely on that. And I also, you know, I'm not even suggesting we do a ban for everything for all of Overwatch. This is a pro-specific problem that we need a pro solution for, which is to do bans. We don't need, you know, Team 4 can't balance around us specifically. They need balance for everybody. So we got to solve the balancing issue ourselves. We need a pro solution for a pro problem, and we don't need to impact the rest of the game. We can fix it ourselves through doing bans. And I think, I don't think it's the magical bullet that affects everything, but I think it's certainly like an insanely good direction to move in that'll help a lot.
It's going to give the desk something to talk about as well. Johnny can stop slacking the fuck off is what he can stop doing on desk. So look at him, bro. He's so pissed. He's so pissed at that one. No, genuinely though, it gives you a lot more conversation to the game as well, which is quite interesting because then you have certain teams that like banning heroes against certain other teams and stuff. It just adds another storyline, which is cool. People underestimate how much people care. I think the general audience care about storylines and whatnot, especially with different players and heroes and teams and stuff. So it's a good thing overall, I think. I don't think it'll impact the highest level of gameplay too much because, hey, if you're sick of the fucking game, you're still going to be sick and you're still going to fucking kill the other team quicker than they kill you. So hero bans is a good thing overall. I think with how they implement them, just reducing the time because the broadcast time is very important because TikTok brain is epic and this society cannot live without 7 seconds of video and all the information being really quick. Oh my God, subscribe to Plat Chat for the Plat Chat TikToks. Let's go. I do want to, obviously we've spoken a lot about this. I did want to quickly touch on the awards actually coming out of OWCS. So obviously they're not like role stars anymore. They are just the roles. They are the MVPs, the awards. Regional MVPs, then we have the role MVPs. Was this kind of the list you guys expected would be my big question. Regional MVPs, I'll quickly run it down for you guys, was Sugarfree, Lip, and Kevster for NA, Korea, and EU, of course. And then the role MVPs, Junbin for tank, Lip and Proper for DPS, Chorong and Shu for support. Did you guys kind of see this happening? Was this inevitability that all these players would get this?
Those are all the players I voted for. Although I will say that if I could go back in time, I might change my vote from Kevster to Quartz. And the reason why I voted for Kevster in the first place was, generally speaking, he had a much better year than Quartz. But if I really dig into like what I define an MVP is in terms of pure value, especially value to their team, I think Quartz really embodied that this year. And even the player, I know you can't really include the player's performance. Man, Quartz just lit up on Twisted Minds, and Ants dropped out so fast, and Kevster couldn't play any of his good heroes. It was unfortunate. So I probably would have voted Quartz instead, but I did vote Kevster, and he won. So there it is.
Johnny, how did you feel about the awards?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's
reasonable?
pretty expected, all of them. Like, no surprises. I feel like I need to give the awards a bit of a think. Like, I'm not sure I loved this thing.
This iteration of the awards?
This iteration of the awards. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, so, like, the regional MVPs make sense. Because, like, you can't just, like, cross... Like, if you can't just pick one MVP for the whole year. Like, that kind of feels insane when the regions are so split. But then we kind of already did that with the Role Stars thing. Like, it's just default. It's just like, well, obviously Korea is the best player, so, and Korea is the best team, so those are in. Like, maybe we should just have one Role Star team per region if you really want to make that. But that also sounds screwed because then you're giving like MVPs like 20 players, or it's not MVPs, it's Role Star. But you see what I mean? Like, I find that this iteration was just kind of janky, and I don't know what the perfect answer is, but I want to think this through. I honestly didn't love how the MVPs were announced. I think because especially Kevster, Sugarfree, and even Lip to some extent, I think they announced them like at various points where it was pre-match or post-match. In the case of Kevster, it was like pre-match. Kevster, you're the MVP. Now you have to go play a game. Enjoy, buddy. You were the MVP. And then for Lip, it was like Chris Raccoons won a game, and I was like, hey, Lip, you won the game. You also won MVP. Here we go. And I just, as someone who's very award-pilled, and I love, like, you know, like, people are going to look at these awards for, like, you know, hopefully years to come. They'll reference, the 2024, Lip got the MVP, or, you know, Asia MVP, and then, you know, this was, like, people are going to look at this, and I'm more award-pilled. I like the way they did it in Toronto, where, for Rookie, they brought out, now I'm blanking, Donghack. They brought out Donghack, you know, in the pre-show, and they were like, hey, Donghack, you won Rookie of the Year. They had a standalone interview with him. They took their time. They really went
Saddest
through it.
Rookie of the Year ever.
Saddest Rookie of the Year. I was so
He was
mad.
so sad.
Freaking screw freaking Chio booming that guy, man. Fuck that guy. Fuck that guy for being a piss poor teammate. I fucking hate that shit. Be a fucking good teammate, all right? And I was so pissed. I was so pissed when I think about that Donghack speak. That dude was so boomed from getting shit on in scrims all year. I hate that. I hate players having to go through that shit. Anyway, I just wanted them to take some poor time to really honor those players. Bring them on the desk. If you don't think they will go to the desk, like, take more time in the pre-show to, like, highlight each individual. And so I thought the way they highlighted the region MVPs was a bit disappointing, and I also think that it's just, I don't know, like was any like EMEA or NA player like ever going to compete against like Crazy Raccoons, Falcons for MVP?
It didn't feel
like
it.
It's so hard. So like.
Yeah.
And maybe you don't want to reward the players for that, but I'd almost want to make like a first team and a second team. Like NBA does like first team NBA, second team NBA, and like everyone knows that the third team. If you get on the third team, like yeah, you're stretching it. Like you're good, but you're not amazing. And they do it for other reasons too, because that eligibility grants you an opportunity to get a better contract in the NBA. Obviously, we don't have that in Overwatch, but I just like if you had two teams, like a first team and a second team, that would allow us to distribute. Well, then it would just be Crazy Raccoons and Falcons. But you get what I mean? Like, it'd be easier to highlight, like, NA and EMEA as well. Because the first team is always going to be the best team in Korea, I feel like. That's just kind of why...
There's definitely a potential fix there, I think, from the broadcast side of things and content side of things. If you kind of did, when we did the media day, if we had the kind of, not revealed to the public then, but, like, filmed things during that media day with the MVPs, and then you could run them throughout the day. The next couple of days or whatever, and then if we do select certain people for interviews, say we have Kevster come up, he already knows, so it's like congratulations, again, but this is the first time the public's finding out about it, and then we can roll a video, and then we can have like an interview on the desk kind of thing. Maybe that's kind of a way of dealing with that, because I think there was so much to kind of slot in as well. It's worth keeping in mind for the broadcast.
Dude, even if they did a pre-recorded interview with whoever won. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Just on the media day, we have
That'd
the interview.
Great idea,
already.
Joss.
Like, oh, boom. Thank you. Thanks.
Very
Johnny.
smart from you.
I know. Very great.
To address the region thing, I actually, first of all, the role stars should just be called role stars. I'm looking at now, it's like hit scan, flex DPS, tank, MVP. I was like, no, those are just role stars. I will say
that was a bit odd.
Those should be
because a lot of players these days are like they can just play everything. You know what I mean? Like I guess you can call them a flex.
The role is weird. It's like what if you're like, because here's the other thing is. Proper actually played a bunch of hit scan this year. I'm not saying I think his position is correct. He's more of a flex DPS, but there's a potential situation in the future where like somebody could have played like a decent amount of both flex support and main support. What category do they actually belong in? That could be a little bit confusing. But yeah, I don't think these should be MVPs. These should be role stars, and you can do them in 3 separate regions. I actually do think NA, EU, and Asia should have separate role stars. And yes, would that mean there's 15 role stars? Yes, but like I think role stars is like a different thing to MVP. So I don't think there should be like 20 different MVPs. But if you want to say like, could there be 15 role stars, which is essentially 3 all-star teams? What Johnny's saying is like, you're 1, 2, 3. Or I'm like, instead of it being like a hard 1, 2, 3, it's just there's 3 separate regions. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think I could buy that personally.
Might be bloat, but why not?
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. They can't do the hit scan, DPS, flex, DPS, especially the main support, flex support role, like the role star stuff next time. They just can't, most likely. And the reason why is because, and this is going to sound really crazy. I'm going to sound, I'm cooking a little bit here. I don't think we're going to have main support and flex support as we know it next year. I don't think that those roles are going to exist anymore. And those players who can only play like Lucio and Brig, they're screwed. They just are going into next year. I don't think that they'll be able to keep their jobs. I think that players like Funny Astro are especially in bad positions. And I kind of feel bad because for the longest time, main support was you just need to know like Lucio, maybe a bit of Brig, and you're good, right? That's not it anymore. And we're going to kind of see the point where we might even reach a point where we're just calling them supports. We're not calling them main support, flex support. Also, the heroes that fall into each other. I mean, main supports are just gonna have to play flex support heroes way more. And again, like it's gonna be all over the place because of hero bans specifically. So that's one thing going into next year that might be a bit of a problem if they're giving out awards, because I don't think we're gonna really have main support players in the same way we have main support players.
I know. I'd even argue this.
I agree with OC. Get rid of it. Yeah. Get rid of it. OC's right.
I think you could argue the clarifications of those kind of roles have already disappeared, to be honest. Like, they're so like old school naming conventions, which is still fine. We can still kind of call, Astro flex support, a main support or whatever. But yeah, they've disappeared. They disappeared as soon as we kind of transitioned, I think, to Overwatch 2. It got it was very muddy, the water, and then a lot of like, oh, your main support, you play Juno. Oh, you're a flex support, you play Juno. Like it, those kind of terms.
I think it happened the same thing for the walkouts. for the walkouts
Right.
that were like in main support, in flex
Yeah,
support.
main support, flex support stuff. I did say, yeah, when that did happen, I was a bit like, I don't know about this. It's just like support number one, not number one, but like support, and then boom, fielder.
And then another support.
Chio, which is fine. Like you don't have to pre-clarify their main support and flex support. It also just the intro
This
into
is so in the weeds,
Overwatch
by the way,
Esports
guys.
as well. It's just easier if you're a new viewer. Like, oh, I love Overwatch. I watch Overwatch Esports for the first time. I watched the final day. What the fuck is a main support? What the fuck is a flex?
It's just
support?
more real.
Like, it's just
Yeah.
more words that you don't really need to add. You know, it's just like
Well, the main
if you're a
support,
newer
the main
player-
support sometimes plays Brig, but sometimes plays as Juno, depending on the team.
Exactly. So like,
Yeah.
I would argue it's probably not even going to disappear this year or next year or whatever. It's already kind of like gone. I think
future is
a lot of
now.
people just a lot of people just holding on to those words because we've been around the scene for a long time. So
Juno
who
broke
fucking
it.
cares?
Juno
Yeah,
broke it.
sure,
I mean,
yeah,
Juno,
it kinda
and,
did.
Like, the issue is that, like, you know, she's played with Ana and she's played with Curie, whatever, and really all main support, flex support main, and this is what I've told people, they don't have any meaning in terms of healing, in terms of what they actually do, in terms of, some people are like, oh, main support's aimless. Like, no. It really just comes down to who's played with who more. That's really it. Like, who has played with who more often. Brig is usually played with one of those flex support heroes, so she's a main support, right? Like, that's how it is. Juno kind of broke it because Juno's played a ton with Brig, really, really good with Brig. But then you can play Juno with Ana. So what the heck is Juno now? And a lot of teams were kind of had the same reaction. My opinion personally at the time, and even now, is I think you should probably have your flex support player play the Juno, just because your Brig is, you probably want your main support on Brig. Although many teams have put their flex support on Brig, and I think some of those teams that flex support player who's on Brig like played it during GOATS or something. So like there is a reason behind it, I think, for some of these teams where that player does have experience on Brig, but like Juno has definitely like broken that pattern, almost broken the game in a sense, because we now have a bit of a Lucio alternative. Not exactly a Lucio alternative because she doesn't do the same things, but an alternative for Brawl, right? You don't have to play Lucio anymore to play Brawl. And that's huge. That's huge. So, and I think also Juno, I think pre-Juno, I would have been very against hero bans. And the reason why is because you can just ban Brawl. That's a problem. Even if it's just for one map, like being able to completely ban Brawl is not cool. And I didn't like that, because if a whole genre of compositions, and that's other heroes too, you ban Lucio, you're banning Reinhardt too. And you have to realize that, right? So that's why I think it was a huge problem. But, you know, once we got Juno, I think it's less of an issue. Because now you can play Brawl with Juno or Lucio. I do think it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out with balance. Like if Lucio or Juno is like, if one of them is like really weak at some point for some reason, that could be an issue where you just ban the strong one and then the weak one isn't really like very good, so you kind of ban Brawl anyways. But I do think like Juno's changed the game enough in such a significant way, and it's in a good way too, where we will see we will be able to see hero bans, I think, succeed more as well. And like a lot of people have said that like I'm like Juno's biggest hater. I'm not. I have been asking for a Lucio alternative for the longest time. If you're like, oh, you just want to see Lucio Curie 100% of the time if we nerf Juno. No, like the reason why I made that original Juno video saying I didn't think she was very good was because I was concerned that we would not have a Lucio alternative. I was so desperate for a Lucio alternative. I'm like, okay, I don't think this hero is very good. I'm gonna post a video saying why I don't think she's very good, so we get some changes and we get some buffs, so that way we actually have something that's different. That's why I made that video, right? And yeah, I don't know. It's just I'm glad we have Juno though.
I want to wrap this back around. Go on.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but we didn't have Juno at EWC, did we? Because I'm looking through all the VODs now. I don't remember there being Juno. So actually, we did do hero bans without Juno in the game.
Yes, we did.
And actually, interestingly enough, the Lucio got banned a ton at EWC, by the way. And I thought it would break the game as well. But actually, it ended up not breaking the game. So I thought that was actually kind of positive. So I just won't put that out.
For certain teams, though, I think for SSG, it did kind of break the game. I'm just being real, like
they still did,
which is correct, but that's fun. That is fun
from
your perspective. That's pretty fun.
They did pretty well. I think SSG still did pretty well.
I don't think they liked it though.
You banned
they got
it once.
target banned every match.
Yeah, of course.
Well, like all
because they
teams, I guess.
play
Yeah, well,
that-
they target, but they were targets. This is what I'm saying. They were target protecting as well. They protected Lucio a bunch in their own bans. So it's a give and take. Anyway, my point is like, I don't think it broke the game necessarily, even
It did
without
not break
Juno in
the
the game, is what I'll say. But anyway, Jack, you had a point.
it didn't break the game, and I think if you're a team that is known for one thing and it gets banned out for one map, then it's like tough shit. Okay, that's fine. Like you can't be an OTP team.
Be more
Like,
flexible,
you can't
you know?
just be like, oh, we only play Reinhardt, we only play Rush. Although that is fun, that's the team identity. You've got to know that going into it. I don't really like that kind of like, oh, we hate it because we can't play Lucio or whatever. Like, I think it's kind of bullshit. But kind of moving it back to what we're kind of talking about with the flex sport, the main sport and stuff.
Yeah.
Those roles are getting eliminated pretty much like on a day-to-day basis, just making it easier from a broadcasting perspective, just going back to the awards and looking at how they were kind of distributed. I don't personally mind how they were distributed because I think all the players on the list deserved it. They're just some of the best players to ever touch the game. But the actual titles for the roles, I think, just need to be eliminated. Just 2 support MVPs, 2 DPS, and 1 tank. And that's fine. I think that's where we need to go. We don't need to dive into main support and flex support anymore to keep it more simple for newer viewers that are definitely tuning in, because the integration within the game is also getting bigger as we kind of look at next year, which is what I want to move on to now, which is OWCS 2025, which is kind of insane, by the way. This doesn't happen a lot, I feel like, in any esport, is that we have a hype video, a hype trailer announcing things for the next year of the game during the finals. That doesn't happen often. It is more often than not, we have the big event at the very end of the year, or like any esport has the big event, and then the next couple of months they go, oh, here's our plans, here's our roadmap. But we actually had it at the event, which is kind of sick. I had not seen this video prior to it being shown, so all of us were kind of out there vibing. So I wanted to kind of talk about how the formats are going to look over the next year. So it's starting way earlier. So January to November, like we barely have like a month and a bit, which is insane. But I also think that's an incredible good thing, because a lot of esports do suffer from the holy downtime. Like, my God, there's just such a
We
drought
did that
of
for the longest
content.
time. We started like
Exactly, yeah.
April and stuff. It was
Every
awful.
other game
Now it's starting in
not
January.
every
It's
other
great.
game. But like League of Legends also does that. There's quite a big gap, not as big as the Overwatch League was, but there's a gap where there's just not much happening whatsoever. But so starting this early, I don't imagine any of you are going to say no to this whatsoever, but I want to get your thoughts. January going to November, 3 different stages, 3 different live events, including the World Finals. It's starting with an open qualifier, obviously, like you can see from the graph here. What do you guys think? I'll shoot a start with you.
Who hates it? Does anyone hate it?
That's what I'm saying. No one's gonna hate this shit.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's difficult to dislike. I have one gripe with it, but I can't talk about it. It's not specifically with how the format works. It's more of a disappointment with something to do with the lands. Can't talk about it though. But still, I think the idea was good. I was super hyped when it was announced, and I think the fact that we're just gonna have more broadcasts in general, that was the big thing for me. I'm like, okay, we're broadcasting stuff more, and it looks like we might have something that looks more like Asia. That's what I'm hoping for. I mean, really, I like, all I've really said to people is like, we kind of have the format right in front of us, which will probably work better. And it's something like Asia, where we have scheduled matches and people can tune in to watch their teams play. Like the whole kind of Swiss mess we have every stage and all of that. I'm kind of hoping with these 3 stages, we do away with it a little bit. Maybe I don't know how they're going to do it, but it looks like it's going to be like a relegation system with the Face It League kind of integrated. We're going to get the teams in and they're going to play a regular season, which is awesome. That's all what I've always wanted, because that's going to bring people in. You have scheduled matches, whatever. You can actually follow your favorite teams. I mean, what I always said about the 4 stages we had this year, like a Swiss stage happens, then you know what teams are actually playing, right? You have the group stage. It's kind of chaotic. Not all the matches are streamed. That happens. And by the time you're at the bracket, you haven't had enough time to care about these teams yet, especially if you're watching for the first time. I don't know if you all agree, but that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, so just quickly giving a small, for the audio listeners out there as well. So they're broadcasting every regular season match, which didn't happen before. On the first day of the stages, we'd have some games that were actually off stream. So the desk would kind of hit on it, although it was kind of frustrating. it was like, okay, some of them are 3-0, so a lot of people, it's fine. It was 3-0, but actually broadcasting every single one is incredible. The main event had that as well, right? Because we had, whenever we go to the main event at the very beginning for EU and NA, we'd have 2 matches off stream. And then we'd have to like jump around, and then the desk, Johnny, everybody else would kind of pick up on it, which wasn't the best because people, like you said, Oshi, they want to follow teams, they want to follow their favorite teams, they want to see every single match broadcasted, casted, and everything else, and people kind of talking about it on stream, which is really good. They're also going to be making their program more consistent across the 3 regions, so Asia, EMEA, and NA. So for those who didn't know or didn't watch Asia had 2 stages. We had 4. In NA and EMEA. So they're kind of homogenizing them, making sure they're all roughly the same, more consistent. And auto-qualifying most teams for the next stage with 2 slots per region being filled through promotion and relegation. So there are going to be like relegation stages as well, which is always quite fun. And having 3 stages, we'll link obviously all this kind of stuff down below if we do that. I don't actually know if we do that, by the way. We probably should if we don't. But promotion and relegation.
You want to do it, Charles? It's all yours.
Sure, I'll put the links down in the fucking comments, bro. The promotion and relegation stage is also going to be really fun through the Face It League, which is kind of what we had before, but a whole relegation system is honestly quite entertaining because if a team does fall off the face of the cliff, fall off the face of the planet, hey, relegated. And it creates a fun little storyline, I think.
Yeah, I love this. Everything about the announcement both surprised me and in a good way, and there was just nothing I disliked about it at all. Maybe I'll think a little bit harder about maybe that there is something I dislike, but really, realistically, 3 splits, an increase in the number of games, bringing in line all the regions, the format, so good. I did not like the NAEU format this year at all in 2024. I don't think it was good.
What specifically about it did you not like?
The way it was basically open qualifying into each one. Basically, I don't like a system that just feels like tier 2. The biggest joke of the year, and I've said this to, people on the Blizzard Esports team when I'm giving the feedback, it's like, honestly, all of OWCS this year basically felt like tier 2. It felt like contenders. We're just in contenders. You look at the format we had in AEU, specifically that format, that's the contenders format almost in its entirety. Like, there's no tier 1 anymore. So one thing we didn't bring up about this is and this was announced in the 2025 announcement, is that Faceit basically going to come in to be the tier 2, the official tier 2 to qualify you in. So we do the the promotion relegation stuff. You have to get promoted through Faceit, etc. Right? So you have to play Faceit. That's a good way to integrate Faceit better. So that I liked where we had the Faceit League, but at the same time it was a bit confusing of like, okay, what does this do? What is the actual point of it? And I think this will incentivize people to sign up through Faceit and play Faceit, because back then it was like, well, do I play Face or OWCS? Do I play both? Like, what's happening here? So this is actually a better system. But now, more importantly, through the promotion relegation system, there's a distinction again between what is tier 1 and what is tier 2. And so it's easy to follow through the teams, and it's easy to follow, all the best teams are going to be in the tier 1. They're not going to get relegated. And the best teams, if they do get relegated, they probably will get promoted again. But, we're going to cycle through the teams that don't quite make the cut.
Right.
And we're going to have retention of the best teams in that quote-unquote tier 1. So we go towards a system that's slightly closer to the Overwatch League, but just without all the franchising. And we can talk about the partnership in a second as well, which is insane to me because I did not expect the whole partnership thing to come through at all. That was so surprising. And obviously having less of a break between the seasons, because one of the biggest issues with Overwatch Esports, Overwatch League included especially, is that the off seasons were giga long. I mean, you guys know some of these off seasons were
6 months.
Disgustingly long. I don't know how we made it through 6 months, by the way. But yeah, we started again in January, which is amazing. I'm like, bro,
people started playing Valorant.
I would have said, look, if we get shorter off season, I would love it if we just started in Feb. No, we're starting in January. That's incredible to me. I did not expect that.
To kind of add on what Avas was saying, I just want to clarify again for the audio listeners. The promotion and relegation, so like Avas said, Face It is kind of the tier 2 system, and then you have OWCS. So the bottom 2 regular season teams and the top 2 Face It League master teams, so you still have to be in that master bracket, can't be in the fucking open bracket where the fuck you ain't qualifying for OWCS, I'm sorry. But they will compete for those 2 spots that are up for grabs in this promotion relegation format. So it does create a very good incentive for finishing top 2 and then beating the bottom 2 regular season teams. So if I think Avril, you just touched on it there, but if you just kind of remove the franchising from Overwatch League, and like the branding and everything, it's like, okay, so the contenders teams just qualify for the bottom 2 teams, and they can just knock those motherfuckers out. So Vegas Eternal, Paris Eternal, they'd have been gone, bro. They'd have been filled with fucking Gigante and fucking Angry Titans. So it's a pretty fun system, I think, and it again makes a more streamlined experience for everybody, and everybody that also competes in Face It too, because the end clear goal, if you're playing in the Masters League, is we want to finish top 2 so we have the chance to get into the regular season of OWCS.
Yeah,
It's basically the best parts of Overwatch League without the worst parts of Overwatch League, in my opinion.
Right. Johnny, you want to go? Because I know you have to go in like 5.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I this is kind of everything I've been talking about for the past few months as well. I'm completely with OC. I'm saying that the Asia format is the best, and we kind of need to replicate it. And who knows what the regular season is going to look like, what format it'll be played at. But I think a detail that you haven't mentioned so far as well, maybe you did, was that, does it say 8 to 12 best teams? It says 8 to 12. So if you consider this year, I mean, there was 16 teams per stage in NA and EMEA. And, this year really was a definition of an open format where, like, you give the opportunity to as many teams as possible. But going into next year, I think we'll see more matches with the best teams. And I think that is ultimately what people are going to tune in for. Because, if SSG or ENCE, if they play more frequently at scheduled times, like OC said, like, that is going to drive viewership and it's going to drive fandom. And so I love that. I love this change, a bit of a hidden detail in that we'll see more matches, hopefully, with the best teams playing in our scene. And so I think it's great. I think the format looks amazing on paper. Curious to see, more specific details about how the format actually plays. And I think, like Avril said about Face It now being tier 2 and leading into OWCS, I do hope that there is some form, it does, obviously it's tier 2 in that case, so it doesn't need to be like OWCS, but some form of official broadcast would just be so huge for Face It Master if that was the case. And like a consistent channel that people can tune into for all the Face It Masters. And I hope that they find budget somewhere to put on something like a tier 2 broadcast, because I think that would also massively benefit the scene in between all the OWCS matches that will probably take place over all the weekends, right? But then you could get quality tier 2 Face It Masters matches on your Thursdays, on your Wednesdays, fill out the week. But it would also be a location where people can reliably tune into. And, if it was a Face It or Watch Channel or something like that, I hope they would be able to make that possible, because Face It was really good. I mean, for the past year, we saw the best teams compete in both NA, EMEA, with the exception of like Toronto Defiant and, 1 or 2 teams in EMEA. Like, I think season 3 is happening now, and not every team is participating in it. But it drove some quality matches, and I think if they were able to drive that on an official platform, that would be very beneficial. So, yeah, I love the format for next year.
It is. It looks good. It looks fun, and obviously making them consistent between 2 regions is also very important, because there's no like weird laps. It feels like we're going back to, an Overwatch League format in a way where the East and West, they have the same formats, but just obviously different number of teams in the Overwatch League days. But it looks good. It looks good. I can't imagine too many people are going to be hating this. It's going to be real. And I think that's a big point that I did miss, was it goes down to 12 teams, which means better quality games across the board that are going to be broadcasted, and every single one of them will be. So that's really sick. Johnny, I know you have to go in like a second, but I want to move on to the partner program, which is kind of insane, honestly. It's like, we're so back. Like, the Overwatch League, I think, did a lot of things right when it came to integration within the game. Team skins, even though they were like recolors, really helped bolster fandom within and like playing every day, which is really cool. Like, repping team skins is a really sick thing to do. And when you jumped into a game and you equip the Valiant skins or the Hangzhou Spark skins or whatever the fuck, and some of the colorways are actually really sick, and I think they did a good job at actually, like, the Hangzhou Spark skins are really sick. The Toronto Defiant ones, the colorway was awesome. Seoul Dynasty was one of my favorites, the black and gold. Like, them having integration within the actual game itself that also helped support the title and support the esports was awesome. And we've already had a little bit of that with OWCS, which is still available, by the way. The what is it called? Neon Streets bundle. Neon Streets bundle is still available. We're starting to get that even more so. It's like that, but leveled up with this partner teams. We haven't got full details on it just yet, but so they've hinted at like in-game bundles, as each partner team will have a team pack of in-game items featuring branding, colors on skins, and other items. So we don't exactly know what it is yet, but it sounds like it's going to be Overwatch League-esque with colorways and potentially charms and small little banners and stuff like that. Again, I can't imagine too many people are going to be hating on this because we are just starting at grassroots in 2024 and 2025. It's growing a little bit more. Oshi, we'll start with you. How did you
No, I'll give my take.
Okay, Johnny has to go. Johnny has to go. Johnny has to go.
I'll give my
first.
take.
Okay,
I just gotta
go.
take the L. I just gotta take the L real first because I was vocally saying for the past few months I didn't think it was happening. Did I want it to happen? Absolutely, we all did. I didn't think this was gonna happen, so I gotta take the L for that one. I didn't see it coming. I thought we had like moved away from all of that. I didn't think a partner program would happen, but I'm thrilled that it's happening. I'm so happy. And I'm looking forward to see how the implementation is gonna, hopefully benefit, teams that stick around and support the team, like Toronto Defiant deserves it, Nightmare deserves it, and all these. So I hope the partner program is a success. I can't wait. It's amazing. So yeah, great thing. I gotta go get kebab. So I hope you can bring this one home, Joss. I trust in you as the host to bring this one home, and maybe we'll talk a bit about Hazard. If people are upset that we didn't talk about each team specifically and how they play in the tournament, I blame Jaws because again he's the host, and I tried to set up the rundown in a way where we would talk about why Falcons beat Crazy Raccoons, why SSG didn't play Sparker, and why we love Twisted Minds. When they play the far competition, that is. But I'm just saying we will continue to make Plat Chat episodes all December. Okay, so we will address the teams more specifically. We'll maybe do some interviews. I'm just rambling at this point.
I'm gonna specifically not talk about those things to give Jules the L.
Please, if you're dissatisfied with this recap episode, file your complaints to Jaws Twitter, and
I agree.
We'll address the team, the matches more specifically. All good. I'm gonna go get kebab. Goodbye.
We will be doing that. Get out of there, Johnny. Motherfucker, I hate that guy so much. Kick him out, Solomon. Yeah, dude. Yes, we will be talking more in depth later on. Like Johnny said, getting players on to kind of discuss. Solomon, get that fucking lower third out of here, bro. I was asked to do this, host. Johnny was like, you want to host? I was like, yeah, sure. 20 minutes before. I volunteered, bro. But Johnny, like 20 minutes before the episode started. Shut the fuck up. Anyway, let's talk about the partner program. There's also a lot of news in general, Hazard, everything else. So we will be getting to the individual matchups and teams and everything else this month. We still got a lot of time. So yeah, Oshi, how do you feel about the partner program comparatively even to the Overwatch League one? Like, what are your thoughts on it initially?
This is something that I've been advocating for a long time. It's actually kind of funny. I made a video a while ago. How long ago did I make this video? Because it's a bit of a OC classic video at this point. It feels like one of my older ones. Yeah, 4 months ago. So it was right after I made that Exodial video. So like we're talking back when the Face It League to qualify to EWC was being played. I made this video and I'm like, hey, Overwatch Esports isn't doing too good. And a lot of it was, I straight up said, hey, the integration in the game, the team skins, all of that needs to happen, right? The other thing was we need 2 divisions. We need a lower division, upper division. There's relegation promotion between the 2. Funny enough, those both happened. Now, I think we still, I would have liked to see some confirmation, and I think they will do it if they're adding team skins. I think we will get like an OWCS tab, but we need an OWCS tab, and we need to get that kind of like same schedule thing. And saying like, oh, a match is happening live in the main menu, right? That's still something that I think makes a major difference, because in my video, what I realized from my comments on TikTok, especially TikTok, where you get a lot of those casual like players and stuff, but also on YouTube, a lot of people write a comment and they're like, oh, I thought Overwatch Esports was dead. I thought Overwatch League was gone. I didn't know this was a thing. I didn't know Overwatch even had esports anymore, right? A lot of people don't know this exists. And that's a problem. Now, if you just put it in the game, if you just say OWCS match happening live right now, you fix that problem, really. And it's kind of free to do that, The amount of dev resources that takes is probably pretty low. So that's one of those things that I would have liked to see confirmation, but I think they'll do it. I think they'll do it. I don't
I
feel
would
as
be
confident as I did with Team Skins.
surprised if they don't have some sort of integration in the main menu, because they did.
Yeah.
They do right now for Face It. It says, sign up for the new Face It right
Yeah.
now in the client, in the little scrolling lower thing advert in the corner. There's skin bundle and this and this and this. Overwatch League, for those who can't remember, we did have that. It was like the esports little tab, and it said live whenever Overwatch League was live. You clicked it, and then it showed a bunch of information, teams, everything else. When it comes to the integration within the game, I would be shocked if they didn't do that. And continuing this kind of partner program throughout the years is going to be beneficial to the esports. And I will say one thing, however, I hope we don't have a new currency. I hope it is just like Overwatch coins that we bargain with, we exchange, rather than like the Overwatch League token system, which was purpose built for. You watch the games, you get the drops, you get tokens or whatever, and then you can spend them within the game.
I don't think we can get coins. You can't get those anymore. Like, not in terms of obviously they're not available anymore, but I don't think
not my point.
I don't think you can integrate them anymore anyway. So we can't do that. So
no, well, that's not my point. My point is like that was purpose built for that system where you got a token every 10 minutes. I can't remember, bro. But and it was purpose built for that. For what I hope we see this time around, and what they've kind of already done, is the in-game bundle, the Neon Streets bundle. You buy it with the coins, and then they calculate that on their back end and how much is going to go to the prize pool. I hope it's like that, the way that you can just buy the normal currency if you want to, and then boom, you can spend it on esports stuff. Obviously, that's all yet to be seen. They've not really revealed too much else apart from like colors on skins and branding and everything else. But this dev team especially, I feel like is way more on board with the whole idea of Overwatch Esports and excited about the events and seeing all the fans. Like I spoke to Aaron Keller quite a bit during OWCS World Finals. Just impressed with the whole thing and really seems to be on board with OWCS and the esports within the game. So I would be probably a lot more confident in this versus like the old Overwatch League stuff.
I agree.
If there's anything you guys wanted to see within the game, what would it be in terms of like cosmetics or like whatnot to kind of promote the Overwatch esports?
I just comment on Aaron Keller thing real quick. I was surprised that Aaron and Alec were there because it was a long way from them to go. Like it's all the way in Stockholm. Like I can understand if they went to Dallas, but they went there. They announced things. They announced like well, they didn't announce Hazard, but they announced like the actual gameplay video and all that kind of stuff. And the first gameplay was shown at OWCS, and then that was the same weekend that the playtest went live as well for the trial players or whatever. So yeah, that fact that I got integrated was insane. I was just really impressed by that. Like you saying that you even talked to them. I mean, I had a chat with them, but I didn't talk to them about esports or anything like that. But the fact that they're on board for that kind of stuff.
I'm not putting words into their
mouth.
I'm just saying they seemed excited about the whole OWCS thing and like they enjoyed their time at the event. I'm not saying like they're fully on board.
Sure.
I know, bro. Yeah, but like motherfuckers in the comments
they're on board.
Go
they're on board in the sense that the fact that we have partnerships at all is like a sign that Team 4 in general, I'm not specifically saying it's either Alec or Aaron or somebody or Jared. It's just in general Team 4 is on board with esports, given that in order to do the partnership program, there needs to be cosmetics, there needs to be probably some skins and stuff like that as well. And so, because I had in the full Doom mode, I was under the impression that like, okay, the Overwatch League store is going to be gone. We'll never do skins again. The dev team doesn't want to touch that. They don't want to touch esports with a 10-foot pole. They want to just completely hand it off to Facebook or whoever and just never touch esports, never have anything to do with it again. The fact that we even have partnerships sends an extremely positive sign that there's a long-term commitment, because it's not just about, you don't do partnerships unless you have a long-term vision for the esport in the game where it's like, hey, we want to do this for a while. Like, you would just not do, if you really wanted to just like wash your hands at esports, you would never do a partnership program. That sounds like an awful thing to do if you hated the esport, right? So the fact that they want to do this is an incredibly good sign. That was the thing that gave me the most hope, the most faith, and the biggest huff and huff of hopium I've ever had for Overwatch esports in like 2 years straight was this program. I never believed that, like OC, I wanted it. I hoped that we would get it. But I never thought it could actually be possible. I never thought it would actually. I think Johnny actually said this. But anyway, I think we all agree we would all like it. But I don't think any of us thought it was actually possible, just given like where Blizzard's direction with esports was going to go. So the fact that we have it is insane.
Yeah, I was given some inside information on it. And honestly, I was skeptical too. What I told people is I think it's probably happening. but I wasn't 100% sure. And it did end up happening. Obviously, things like that can end up like not working out. They can change their mind, whatever. But like, and I kind of did get it from like, so I got it from a person who was in communication with the people who are managing that. So it's more like, not the most reliable of sources, I guess. And yeah, like I definitely know where you're coming from, where it's like you don't even think it's possible, right? And for me, my view of the esport, at least in stage 2 and even going to stage 3, I felt like it was slowly dying, is what I felt.
Yeah, I
Specifically
agree.
OWCS. I felt like, and I was looking at it and it really hurt, but it was like we're just seeing orgs come in for EWC, and they're just probably gonna leave after that's done, or they'll just stay for the EWC stuff, and EWC will be Overwatch Esports. And I wasn't too particularly happy with that being the status quo. So the fact that it isn't is really good. I think the one thing we're missing right now, and this is a pretty big thing too, it's advertisers. I think that's the one thing. Sure. It's not about anything in game. It's not about anything we need to add to the esport. I think it's about bringing advertisers in, bringing money in that way. And I think that might be one of the reasons why Toronto Defiant, a lot of people are calling Toronto the litmus test for the new system, because that like the Overwatch esports people are probably in contact with some of these major orgs, trying to talk to them, trying to get their feedback. Toronto is one of those orgs that is undecided, and they've said, hey, we're looking at the viability of the esport going into 2025, and we're going to make a decision based on that. And I think one of those factors that they might be considering is the actual, money coming into the esport, especially advertising. And Overwatch League kind of lost their advertising because of certain things that happened. And I'd like to see it come back if possible, but that's something, I'm hoping for it for 2025, but we'll see.
It's I think a more broad scope kind of look at advertising and stuff. It's kind of hard. I think a lot of advertisers in general right now, at the very least, it feels like they're pulling out of everywhere. So it's definitely been tougher than it has been. Like obviously the big esports spend way back when, that doesn't really exist anymore. Obviously a lot of games still have a lot of big partnerships, Valorant and MasterCard, all this other kind of crap. And I think, as we slowly get there with this partnership program, and as we look forward, I'd be shocked if we don't see maybe a couple here and there, if not like teams getting a lot more sponsors if they participate in OWCS. Obviously, we have nothing to do with that either on the broadcast side of things, but having like even just one broadcast sponsor would be just ridiculous. We had the Porsche one obviously at Dallas. Obviously, that was an integration with the game at that point, but still they advertised there. They brought the car. They had an actual vehicle next to the stage, which was pretty sick. Yeah, I think that's definitely a very good and fair point to bring up, is advertisers in general in an esports landscape. It's very important to a lot of team owners. Funnily enough, actually, speaking of team owners, I did see Arnold from Gen G was like, what the fuck did he say? He put out a tweet.
It's a tweet with an image of him reinstalling Overwatch.
Reinstalling Overwatch. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
Arnold. Okay, I'm listening. So I'm hoping maybe even Gen G dips their toes back in again. I think that would be very exciting. And with this partner program, there will probably be a lot more interest from big orgs. Considering last year we had a decent amount of actual not partner teams, sorry, but like esports teams. NRG, TSM, like Space Station Gaming, ENT, obviously Crazy Raccoon, Team Falcons, like Twisted Minds, like they are esports teams that have teams in other games. So, maybe we lose a couple going into next year, but that's definitely going to be bolstered with the fact that we have a partner program now. So yeah, I think this is a very, very positive step forward for the Overwatch esports space. And yeah, hopefully we won't have an Overwatch League situation where the players are just swapping teams every fucking season, because that was very hard to follow sometimes. And my God, just sticking with one team and just cheering for those is sick. Oh yeah, T1 are having tryouts. Yeah, I completely forgot about that. Carpe, he's coming back. He's coming back, everybody. He's given up Valorant.
Well, MN3 already came back,
That's facts.
Yeah,
Carpe's
there you
son's
go.
there.
We might have TSM coming back too.
There we go.
That's
So,
another
yeah.
one. So
T1.
We do have people coming back, and another big thing, and I think this is the biggest improvement from Overwatch League, right? And they have the chance to outdo Overwatch League here. Do I think they'll do it? I have no idea. I obviously have to be skeptical. They have a chance to, though. And I think the big improvement, and I always, like, during Overwatch League, I always complain about, because people are like, oh, you're just on my video, they're like, oh, you're just trying to bring back the Overwatch League. And it's like, no, this is different, because if you have a promotion relegation system, rather than tier 2 and tier 1 being their own separate environments, what that means is that investing in tier 2 means something. If you have a tier 2 and the only thing you can do is win contenders, and then all your players get stolen for Overwatch League, and you're like, oh, well, that sucks. What point is there investing in that, right? You can make money off of buyouts. I think that was what some teams tried to do.
That was it. It was the money farm, yeah.
Yeah, it was just that, though. And it was just like a player training kind of deal, right? It was like, oh, organizations down there, we're just going to train players, try and get them signed, try and make money that way. That's all we can do. But you're actually have more incentive for bigger orgs to try and dip their toes into Overwatch with tier 2 teams that are in Faceit League and in the Masters division, because those teams have potential to go up. They have potential to go up, and I think it's the best possible solution for Faceit too. Because what I've said previously is, like, we can either integrate it and make it like one, or it needs to be one or the other. Like they just kind of like, they don't work together if they're not part of the same system. So the fact that they're actually integrating it is literally the best possible solution. It is the best world line, right? Yeah. We are in the best.
We're in
world
this timeline right now. Let's go. I'm excited for this year, and more details will obviously be revealed at some point. No idea what that's going to be. Obviously, they've only given us like a crumb, but it's there, and it's exciting to kind of follow along. I do want to move on to the show match that happened at OWCS, and kind of linking it back to how the esports can maybe be more of a marketing arm, which is what a lot of games do. League of Legends, Valorant, and other games, they use esports as kind of a marketing tool to promote new things and, microtransactions, sell stuff, yippee. Having the Hazard show match live at Dallas, Stockholm, was sick. It also ran concurrently with the test weekend as well, so people were able to watch and then test, or test then watch, or do one or the other, which was really sick. This show match was pretty damn awesome. We only did one map, but it went to all 3 rounds on Control with our new tank called Hazard. Met the voice actor as well, Connor, fucking legend. We had one of those. We just spent eating pasta, and we talked about like old retro games for like 3 hours. He's an absolute homie and is super excited to be part of this world. And I said, like, man, you are gonna experience a whole new version of the internet, it feels like, because I don't know if you guys heard, but one of his voice lines, his like thirst line that people are calling it, is he says "good girl" in a Scottish accent. Apparently people are going crazy for that, and apparently a lot of people were making him say it as well, which is quite funny.
Yeah, Blizzard knew what they were doing.
Yeah, well, yeah, obviously. So what do you guys think of Hazard initially? Initial thoughts?
I mean, okay, so my funny story with the Hazard show match, that was day 1. I was supposed to arrive in Stockholm on Thursday, the day before. I arrived in Stockholm on Friday, the day of the tournament, 9:30 a.m. So I had gotten basically no sleep. I went straight to the tournament. And I think halfway through, once we reached that Hazard show match point, I was like, I'm gonna pass out. So my girlfriend had to like drag me back to the hotel. I did get to watch a bit of Hazard though, and I think I'm optimistic about it, because at first I'm like, I look at Hazard from like the trailer and I'm like, okay, this looks like it's going to be another Ramatra or something, like another brawl tank. The fact that Hazard might be a bit of like a weird divey kind of brawly hybrid, I like that. That looks really cool to me. I think didn't get to watch the show match, but from the gameplay I've seen, how Hazard kind of plays is really cool. The angles you can take with that too, I like it.
It's a very fluid and dynamic tank, which is cool. Yes. It doesn't just sit there and shoot people and press a button. And that's what Overwatch is about, flying through the air and being all mobile and nimble and shit. I thought it was really cool. Avril, did you have any kind of initial thoughts on the character?
Yeah, I played Hazard for a little bit as well, which was fun. But I do think the tank is kind of reminiscent a little bit of Doomfist, but maybe without the toxicity of the punch in terms of design.
Punch is toxic, I agree.
I like more dive tanks, for sure. I think we've got a lot of brawl tanks, and we need more dive tanks in there. Generally, I think mobility is great. The tech is great. Having the extra wall, giving you the ability to wall climb as well, and using that with the wall to get around places is pretty fun. Um, the ultimate's a little boring. I think the ultimate is just okay. It's whatever. It's like not my favorite ultimate as far as what I want to see on a dive tank. It's just like, I don't know. I don't want to see more CC in the game. It's just a little not particularly interesting ultimate, but the rest of the kit seems pretty fun. I was a little skeptical about the gun as well because, like, well, every tank has a shotgun. We have so many shotguns in the game, but it feels fine to use. So it's whatever. The block is a way healthier version of some of the other blocks we have in the game because it's on a resource meter. It's not as insane as Defensive Matrix, and it's not a permanent block like Ram's block because it actually costs something to use. So yeah, it's kind of like the less. It's a better designed version of, you could argue, Matrix and Ram block at the same time, and also Doom block as well. It's like the best designed block out of of all the other block type abilities or resource based blocking type abilities we have so far. And because I'm not like a huge fan of like more shields in the game, I think this is like a decent way for him to have like damage mitigation that doesn't feel poorly designed like a Doom block or Ram block. I like that.
Yeah, a block in general, I think is, yeah, like you said, it's like not as toxic. It feels like there's like a resource to it, so you're not just like you're not just Ram, bro, and you just folding your arms waiting for your Nemesis form to run out. It feels cool, and I want to reiterate the point. Like, the most fun thing about Overwatch is like jumping around and like going really fast and like scaling walls, or like it is about mobility. The game's running around and like shooting people, and I think he's a very, very good character for that. Like, being able to scale the wall, put the wall, and be tricky with it as well. Like, the wall it's not like as big as May Wall or anything, but it's fairly chunky. Like, you can like trap people, and you can like put it in weird spots. Like, there are going to be rollout videos of, oh, you can get onto this if you do this wall, if you do this, Karq is going to have an absolute fucking field day. My guy is going to go crazy with this one. I thought the show match was really... I'm so happy Johnny won. Thank God. He's not here. Don't tell him this. Don't clip this. Thank God Johnny won. Jake's ego need to be satiated. He was chatting shit to Johnny the whole time behind stage. So
Jake's lost twice now. God. This year, 2 show matches, 2 L's.
He's lost 4 times, I think, against Johnny, actually. In total, I think it was.
I beat him. I think... Wait, God, no, he was with Johnny on the same team in Dallas, and I was on the opposite team with Jay, and I remember winning against Jake. So Jake's lost twice now.
Yeah, Jay has lost twice. Got on stage, lost twice, and only hit 1 pulse bomb. This is so sad. This is so sad of him. Yeah, I think the tank looks sick. I think I do want to kind of echo that point about the ultimate, Avril. And it is a little, like, it's not like boring, but it's like, it's not like a shatter, like, boom, hits the ground, big thing. Like, it's not a grab. But comparatively to the rest of the kit, I think it's more than okay. It doesn't mean to be like an absolute showstopper of an ultimate does some crazy huge thing. I think it's good. It's like a setup ultimate, right? It is like a grab in that way. You're like setting people up to like kill other people, and it goes through walls, which is a very interesting way of doing an ult, and not something we've really seen before, which I'm a little bit nervous about, to be honest, it going through cover. But obviously we'll have to wait until the actual character comes out onto live and is tested, because they were definitely using this in the playtest weekend, obviously, to tweak numbers and tweak how the character actually works. So we'll have to wait and see when it actually gets into ranked. But I think it's sick. I think his kit and the character itself overall is very, very well designed, and it's not a fucking Malga. So I'm really happy, actually. Very happy about this. Do you guys think it will be, obviously, very stupid early to tell, but I like hot takes. Do you think this is pro play viable, like looking at the kit right now? If you just ignore Malga meta?
Dynamic enough, yeah. I mean, I think that we could see, and this is again like a really early kind of just gut take. We'll see Hazard potentially in some Junker Queen style compositions. Like, I don't think we'll see him in like our traditional dive compositions with like Tracer Ash on a Brig. I don't think we're gonna see that. I think we're gonna see more like those Junker Queen compositions. They already kind of have this Brawl Dive hybrid vibe to them, where like, that old like Lucio Curie, Sojourn Genji, Junker Queen comp, you'd have the Genji and the Lucio going for little dives, while the Junker Queen and kind of like brawls, and you're doing a bunch of things at once, right? There's different aspects to the macro. I think with Hazard, it's kind of the same thing, and you have even more mobility, and I can see him even being good on maps like, King's Row, for example, where you can kind of just climb the walls and take that high ground at first point
Yeah.
or like third point.
Pretty easily,
Like
actually. Yeah.
I can see that being really good. Those brawl maps where it's like you have high grounds, you need to control whatever. Right now, the funny thing is Orisa is good on those. That was one of the big takeaways because for a little bit, teams were trying to figure out if Queen or Orisa was better. This was before teams started like really running the Malga. And we saw that matchup in collegiate. And what I talked to people about, I'm like, okay, the Queen just kind of loses on King's Row, right? Because you know what the defending team does? They they put their Orisa on the high ground, and anytime the Queen tries to walk up there, you just spin them off, right? So you have that
It's
high ground
very
control.
epic gameplay.
Yeah, it's very, very, very engaging, right? But you can do it in the reverse too. The Orisa is just really good at like existing on high ground and not getting booped off and booping other people off of it. So like Hazard being able to like climb up to high grounds, control high grounds very easily, be very mobile. I think there's maps like King's Row where you might see him. I think he's like a Queen alternative. I think Queen might have more just outright pressure on flat maps like New Junk City, things like that. But you know, Hazard, where there's more high grounds, things like that, I do think he'll have a niche. Now, I do think balance matters a lot. He could be very strong off the bat because they, you know, we could see another situation where it's like very, very, very good or weak off the bat. I mean, that's something that I can't predict, to be honest. I don't know if he'll be weak or strong. I think his kit has potential, though.
In general, I think making a character strong on their release is not a bad thing. And I think having the character played a lot initially is very good, not only for the health of the game, but it's also like, yay, I get to play the new character because he's strong, you know, and you don't feel like you're a burden to your team or anything because other characters are really strong. So I'm never not going to be a fan of that. I think that's a very, very good thing in general. Avril, what do you think? Do you think he's dynamic enough to be playing Pro?
I'm surprised you made the Queen comparison. I was thinking more like he was going to fit more into dive comp, but I wonder like what kind of comps he really would actually fit into. If he was going to fit into dive comp, I was thinking, would you really play him over Winston? You know, I just feel like Bubble is too good, Primal is too good. This is another reason why I'm not a big fan of his ultimate. It's not because it's just boring from like a design standpoint. It's just like it doesn't really do what you want. It's his entire kit feels very all in already, and it's not like a. You know, if you want a dive tank, I think you want more like a Primal Range as an ultimate. You want something like that. They'll give you more longevity in fights and the ability to just like stay in there as a diver or like have some sort of isolation as well with the bubble. Just in terms of utility, not even talking about the ultimate anymore. I don't know. Yeah, if would he actually just fit into a Queen comp? Like I don't even know what type of comp he would fit into.
I think so. Like a rush brawly kind of thing. You just get up in people's faces, right? Isolate people with walls and stuff. I mean, there's possibilities there.
I think you have like I think it's really he's a hero that's built to control high grounds, a brawly hero that's built to control high grounds. I think that's where he's going to come into play, right? Because we've seen Brawl become less popular when Brawl isn't hard meta on like maps like King's Row, right? And King's Row used to be considered a Brawl map, and that was because, you know, you'd have a Reinhardt control the low ground area, D.Va control the high ground, whatever. Now you don't have the other tank to do the high ground stuff, so that kind of sucks. So now your Reinhardt's stuck on the ground. Now we'll still see Brawl be used on King's Row when Brawl just becomes hard meta, like when Juno is entirely overtuned for 3 months, of course. But I think that Hazard kind of fixes that issue. Hazard can kind of do the thing where it's like, okay, I can contest point, switch to back to high ground instead of having to take the stairs. I think that's really strong, and I think like Hazard in conjunction with some dive heroes, like I think those backlines where you have a hit scan and you have like Tracer, Genji, especially Genji, like a Genji Lucio. Like imagine a Hazard Genji Lucio, you clear the high ground. First point, then you take a brawl, whatever. I don't think he's expressly the best at doing dive things. I don't think he is, and I agree.
Yeah, I think I've probably been baited into thinking he's a dive hero. Maybe he is just like a more dynamic brawl hero that can take high ground with a more mobile ability. Like maybe you're right on that. He's probably not actually an actual dive hero because I think there's much better dive heroes. He's probably just actually a brawl here because he's got better personal defense.
Consistent mobility. Like Winston jump is very easy, right?
He's got better personal defense than a Winston. Winston can't just sit there and block, you know. So he's got way better. I think he's got better killing power too, because like Winston can't like lock down. Well, you can lock down a target and then have your team back you up with using a bubble and stuff like that. But like you can't just like delete a character with a combo the way Hazard can. So I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
Hazard already has insane combos. You can definitely destroy 200 HP hero. I don't know if they've done. Is there a 250 HP combo? I'm not too sure, but you can certainly do a lot of damage to a single target with Hazard.
Too soon to tell.
I think
There's
it's
that.
the fact that Hazard doesn't have horizontal mobility. He has that vertical mobility, but he can't necessarily cross that distance easily. And he doesn't, and I don't think his skill set is very good at dealing with things like sleeps or nades too. When he tries to dive the backline,
I mean,
like
bro,
if
that
you
guy
try and
got
think
no
like on a
shields,
Brigmere or something,
insta-sleep. Yeah.
I just don't think he's going to be good for that, right?
Yeah.
He makes me think of, okay, let's trade like the front pressure of Ram or like JQ. Let's trade that out, right? Let's give him JQ's gun. Let's give him kind of like Ram's general kind of deal, like brawliness with the block and everything. And let's make him a little weaker, like straight up in the front line, and trade that for vertical mobility, being able to go up and down. And I think that's what matters here, and that's what makes a difference.
I'd
Now,
argue that he's got a good horizontal
Yeah.
mobility. He's got his blade
Yeah.
dash.
he does have
but
that. He does
it's-
have that.
It's less like with Winston, Diva, etc. Traditional dive tanks. It's like you can go long, you can go high, and it's very easy to kind
Yeah.
of like you are more fluid around the map. Him is like you have
Yeah.
to set up a little bit more because you're clambering a lot of the time and like you're gripping onto things rather than just like sailing through the air. So fits in that small niche, like you said, about where's Queen doesn't have mobility really. She's got a shout, she can speed up or whatever. And then Winston, he's kind of in the middle where he's just kind of chilling. He can take high ground, not as easily as Winston, but he can control it pretty well if he's up there. He's going to get slept a lot. He's going to get naded a lot, but he's still got the block. And you're going to have to be, a little bit tricky with it, with the walls and stuff, right? You can wall an Ana off, you can wall people off, and then jump on them and kill them and stuff. He does
Yeah.
seem very fun, and I think that's the biggest thing with these show matches and the test weekends. Just initial eye test, I think, for a lot of people is more important than anything, because you look at him and then you're like, that motherfucker is just flying around the map. He is punching people. He's shooting people in the face. He's fucking doing all this crazy stuff. And then you look at and compare that like initial eye test of Hazard to someone like Malgo, where it's like he's walking and then he hits E, everybody gets buffed, and then he pops a cage down. And it's like that kind of initial eye test. I think everybody was like, that's an interesting character, the way it kind of plays. And like you can kind of buff your team because with the cardiac overdrive, but it's not like a whoa, like ADHD, like hybrid jump in, go,
Yeah.
So the eye test I think for Hazard right now seems very good. And if he's a little OP, that's fine. They can nerf him a little bit later, but in general, it's fun to have those characters a little bit broken because then everybody's playing him and it's a fresh new game. And I think that's what's most important about new characters that are show match like this and have little test weekends.
Yeah.
Basically,
and-
we need characters that have dynamic design like this rather than stuff like Malgo is what I'm
Right.
here for. So.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think, although I will argue there is case in point for having those characters that are a little bit more simple, because Malga is pretty fucking simple. He walk forward, he hit E, and he shoot. Like, that's it. You need those characters in order to bridge the gap between players that aren't very good and that are, pro players. Those small little, not players, but heroes. You need those heroes that exist on the lower end of scale to then transition to a Winston, for example, which is very high skill, like maybe even a Hazard, which looks pretty high skill, especially with all the mobility and stuff. So there are cases in point where you need those kind of heroes, but when they are strong, it becomes very boring for a lot of people. Although we've already had the meta discussion, I don't want to get into that again. Fuck that shit. Okay, Oshi, have you played OWCS or Owl before? Before we round out the podcast, because I haven't played one of these in so long. Actually, did we do this last Plat Chat? Tom, if you could bring it up.
I don't think so.
So it's like Wordle, but for our players and like
Okay,
OWCS players. It's pretty easy. I say that it's not. It's actually incredibly difficult. We get fucking owned most of the time. So yeah.
right.
So you just guess the teams between
Do we?
NA and Korea. Yeah, we get fucking owned on
I'm
these all
pretty
the
sure I
time, bro.
dominate. I dominate.
Comments are
these, actually.
roasting us every day. Okay.
Okay.
First guess. Anybody?
Do a. I was gonna say
Do a
Korean DPS.
Korean DPS. Carpe.
Go lip straight away.
Lip. Yeah, go on lip.
Carpe's not in the.
He will be
OWCS.
again. Okay, DPS.
Yes, DPS.
Okay, DPS, not Korea, not Korean or from Crazy Raccoon.
American.
Okay.
I think you got to go American. American sugar free.
Sugar free. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you gotta go by
Ready?
like the biggest countries. Boom! Oh, look
It's
at that,
NA.
baby. Woo!
NA. He's
There's a lot of
North
NA DPS
American
though.
and his DPS. Not on Toronto. Is it like a Zera?
Hmm.
I mean, it could be anybody. This is the part. This is
Literally
where it gets
anybody.
really hard.
Yeah,
This is where it gets really hard. Like, take your pick. It's like you go through every single OWCS team at this point. Go through
Yeah,
the
go
big
on,
ones.
Zara.
Go through shot. Go tree. I don't know.
Okay, not
So it's
Nightmare,
not Nightmare.
Toronto. Oshi, what do you think?
I mean, try tree at this point. Like,
Go through all the big teams first.
Okay. What the fuck? Wait a second.
So, not NIG,
Not Nightmare,
Nightmare,
not
or Toronto.
Toronto. So it has
What other team?
TSM. Oh, Rocket. Try Rocket.
Uh,
TSM.
Oh!
okay.
Oh. Wait, from which
TSM.
version of TSM though? Because
Oh,
they've gone
God.
through a few different. They've gone through a few different DPSs. They've had Chopper, Sungan, and some other people more recently. No,
Chopper then? Chopper's
Chopper's
been
not
pretty
on the team.
consistent.
Chopper
Oh,
is not in TSM.
anymore. Yeah.
Does he
right.
count?
What's their
Like-
current? Yeah.
Like
I
how
don't
up
Okay,
to
we can't
date?
cheat.
How up to date is this?
I don't know. Go Chopper.
know. Chopper's
He's
not
not on
there.
Not
Oh my
even on the
God.
list.
He's not even on the
Funny
list.
fucker.
Okay. So
King.
King? Yeah.
King,
King's
it's
the
King.
one.
It's probably King. Yeah.
Gotta be King.
Oh
Fuck.
my God.
Okay,
Oh
who's the
my
other
God.
DPS?
Is it
Dude, am I trolling?
Is it
King, Rocket, and who else?
Vision? Was Vision on
Oh,
TSM recently?
Vision. Wait, no, was Vision on TSM?
Pretty sure he
though?
was.
Was he TSM?
Wait, hang on. Let me look at stage 4. Let me look at stage 4 roster.
No, bro, you're gonna ruin it. Oh, guess Vision. We've already said it, Solomon.
Okay, lock it in.
There we go.
Okay.
Oh!
Nice.
Okay.
Ooh yeah.
Wow.
Ooh yeah, baby.
Huge.
Woo!
Okay. Owl lull. That should have been in the mode. Owl lull. Which is kind of hard, kind of easy. So this is only like the most recent Oshi. So do you want to start us off?
So is this just for Overwatch League?
This is Overwatch League, yeah. This is
Which-
like
yeah.
the last
Which season?
It'll be the last
season
season.
6?
Last one, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the last one, yeah.
Go with Hanbin.
Hanbin. Okay, good choice. I like that. Okay, not
Dang.
Korean, not a tank, not East, not Dallas Fuel. So a Western non-support DPS, non-Korean.
Do an American DP. Do sugar
Just give
free
me sugar
again.
free again, bro.
Just do sugar free again.
Sugar free.
No, yeah, for real.
Give me sugar free. Oh, so support, not American. So a backliner, London Spitfire, Astro maybe.
Yeah, go on.
Funny Astro.
Yeah. Oh,
Gladiators.
Gladiators. Not
Backliner.
Korean. Not Korean.
Not
Cal.
English.
It's Cal. It's Cal.
Cal? Yeah.
Boom.
Oh.
Woo! It's too good, baby.
Holy shit, we went crazy.
Damn,
with that
son.
one.
We
Okay.
went so hard on that one. Look
Wait,
at that.
that was actually
Can't
easier than
flame
I
us with
thought.
that. That was actually. I
God
told you, I
damn.
dominate these, man. I dominate these.
Okay. We will not get flamed in the comments. Last segment, obviously, Bren's Player of the Week, everybody. Bren's Player of the Week. Anybody got any nominations who they'd like to put forth potentially? And it can't be
How much glaze we want to do here? We could either nominate. We could either just put forward Falcons who won, or we could put
No.
forward. This is an interesting one. Put forward the entire OWCS leadership team for an amazing final and a banger 2025 announcement. Honestly, holy shit! I'm so hyped about 2025.
Bro's like, I'm gonna get me a job real quick.
How about let's pick Kebab. Johnny's Kebab is the player of the week.
Johnny's Kebab. No.
I think
You
I have a
should.
player.
Okay. An actual player. This is a rare one
Actual
for
player.
Bren's Player of the Week. This is a rare one. Okay, I like that.
Sometimes do scientific community is one of them.
I think it's Kellen for Energy Shock. I think
Kellen the felon from NRG
Kellen
Shop.
went into this tournament and everyone thought he was terrible from stage 4. And honestly, he did play pretty bad.
Yeah.
Bad. And it was a huge disappointment. I think people kind of lost faith in the Korean kind of tank line for energy. And then Kellen came in and played pretty good, considering the circumstances. I think Kellen overperformed. They obviously didn't do super well against Toronto, but I think the fact that they made it to 4th place is an achievement on its own. And I think that's partially due to Kellen. and Kellen's Queen, which kind of just came out of nowhere. He played it well, and yeah, I was impressed by that.
You know what? A rare Bren's Player of the Week where it's actually a player or not the scientific community. I'm down for that, actually.
If we're doing a player,
an actual player, I'd like that. Yeah, Kellen did have a little bit of a redemption arc coming into World Finals. I agree. Because, man, the Kellen Wrecking Ball was... Oh, God, that was awful. It was not a good look for Kellen. But, yeah, I agree. He actually did pretty well. And I think finishing that high, too, is surprising.
If we're gonna do a player, I'm gonna throw in Stalker there because he won the tournament MVP and
dude's a go. But he already won a one MVP award, buddy. So he can't get another one.
I mean, Kellen didn't win though as much. Okay, he did play way better than we expected. He did play better than expected.
Yeah, he kind of proved everyone wrong, you know.
Exactly.
And like he also played like Twisted Minds too.
French Player of the Week. Go to Wheats for holding up North American pride. Go to Wheats.
You know, he made a tweet this morning.
Bring up the picture of Wheats with the American flag on him. Wheats America, baby. Wheats freedom.
Wheats America.
He held up NA. Give it to all of NA for beating EU.
Oh, I actually have the tweet in my browser. What the fuck? He tweeted this morning like, man, motherfuckers getting up at like 6:30 and stuff. Anybody else went to Stockholm and been on the old man sleep schedule since coming back to NA? Been waking up at 6:30. Motherfucker, I get up 5:30 every day.
That's literally me right now, though.
There's Kellen. Kellen spotted. Honestly. It's the best
his profile picture is the Wheats Freedom. Just click on the... Yeah, there it is. Wheats Freedom right there. Holy
Dude, fuck it.
Damn.
We're giving it to Wheats. Old man, sleep schedule, getting up at 6:30 every day. He's seen the light. He's seen the light. Get up early every day. You will thank yourself. Lay it down. I don't know. But make sure you go to bed early. Get enough sleep.
He embodies all of NA right now. So and NA won pretty big. Outside of Korea, who we expected to win. NA won pretty big the tournament for the playoffs. So, you know, I think it deserves a good shout, you know. And Kellen's, he gets to be part of NA because he was on Wheat's team when he
Exactly.
It all works. It all fits together well.
Like a pseudo, like a Bren 2's player of the game. Bren 2. We're launching Bren 2 this offseason in DayZ. Right. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I really appreciate it. And thank you, OC, for coming on as well. It's been an absolute pleasure. Giving us your insights and thoughts. Avril, that's it. Thank you so much for everybody watching.
As always.
We'll see you soon
didn't even
for
thank
more
Johnny.
Like, breakdowns of actual...
This guy didn't even thank
Johnny, bro. Like, okay. Where'd you get kebab pizza, bro? He didn't even get me any. There you go, Johnny, everybody. Okay, wrap the episode. We'll be back another time to do some other breakdowns of the actual finals and stuff. See you soon.